It's Hearthstone Grandmasters for Europe. We're in our second day of week number 3, and we're getting to our third matchup. That's admirable. I'm joined by Darroch Brown. And Darroch, this is our match of the day. Orange taking on Jarla.
It is indeed, and it is quite a match of the day. This, I feel, is the Hearthstone Esports enthusiasts' choice, because both of these players had a pretty good year last year. Orange, I suppose, the year before last was his real dominant performance in the HCT system. But Jarla was one of the biggest top point earners in the Hearthstone Championship tour stop system last year. I would argue not even necessarily due to tour stops that much, just because he was so good at ladder. He was finishing top 25 every season. It was quite staggering, to be honest.
I looked up this morning as well. He's top 10 on ladder.
He finished rank 2. He finished rank 2 yesterday when the ladder reset.
He's
really
a
ladder
good.
god. He really is.
Let's take a look at the schedule and see what we've seen so far and what we still have coming up for this one. We saw quick 2-0s with the yin and the yang, Bunny Hopper and Viper, working in tandem, identical deck lists through their primary, secondary, and tertiary deck, and identical answers when we asked them what their favorite wedding song was, because Bunny Hopper's headed to a wedding this weekend.
Yeah, and it turns out the only thing powerful enough to defeat themselves is themselves, with them both being their opponents this week, but losing, I suppose Viper losing to Bunny Hopper in the first game. But like you said, Orange versus Jarla, a warrior mirror. It's been a little while since we've had one of those. And I know that you're personally very partial to a good old warrior mirror.
I am pumped.
Some parties in this casting duo are less enthused about the idea. I won't name any names.
Okay, good, because I don't want to call him out for being that dumb. That would be ridiculous.
I like it. You got to have it in occasionally, sparing. It's like the food pyramid where you have like a little bit of sugary stuff at the top. Did you have this in America? And then you have like...
Well, the one we have here is just totally wrong.
And then you have like loads of fruit.
It says to
fruit
eat like
and veg
230 carbohydrates a day or something like that.
Okay. Well, the warrior is the top of the pyramid. You want a tiny little bit of that. And then at the bottom, you want your nice rogues and your mages.
I turned the pyramid upside down. That's how I lost all the weight. Orange versus Jarla. We've seen Orange a lot over the course of the Hearthstone competitive scene, but not always. HCT was actually pretty new for him recently. The year that he competed, he was so dominant. That was his first year playing HCT. And for Jarla, it's mostly been about ladder dominance. So let's get to know these two a little bit better.
My name is John Westberg. In-game, I'm Orange.
My real name is Jaromír Vyskočil. My in-game name is Jarla.
What I'm looking forward to most about the Grandmasters experience is definitely that I get to compete every single week against what is considered to be the absolute best players in the world.
I have been in competitive Hearthstone for 2 years and few months, and this is something special, competing against the best players in Europe.
This is why I play Hearthstone, you know, that I want to compete against the best of the best, and I want to prove myself that I am up there as well. The beautiful thing about my playstyle is that mid-range decks are usually such a hard deck to target. Even if you know I'm gonna bring mid-range, like sure you might get a little bit of an edge, but I'm really not as worried as if I would be an expert on any other archetype. I've had that target on my back for several years now, and I feel like I've been doing pretty good regardless, so I don't think anything like that is gonna change.
I like control decks, and I always play really slow. Some people can hate that I really often end up roping the turn. Sometimes I also overthink stuff, so...
Jarla is someone I spent a lot of time with at these tour stops over the past year, and someone I consider a close friend. He has this unique playstyle where he really likes his control decks, and which a lot of other people in the group also has a tendency of, which makes the meta in the group somewhat easy to read. But yeah, Jarla is someone I'm really looking forward to play as well.
I think Specialist is really similar to Ladder. And I used to play a lot of ladders, so I think it could work well for me.
I've been spending a lot of time on Hearthstone in the past, and I probably play more hours than most people, I would say. It's the hours, all the sleepless nights before deck submission, panicking and learning matchups, playing while waiting for the bus, playing on the bus or a train, or these days on flight. All of those hours playing Hearthstone has finally led to this, and that feels great.
My goal for Grandmasters is probably avoid relegation, but I would like to win as well.
All right, I got to call out Orange on that one. not only is he Swedish, where J's are pronounced as Y's, but he also he said Jarla. Like, I have never heard him outside of that instance pronounce a J as a J.
Yeah.
In fact, one time, this is a funny story, he confused the names of restaurants because of the pronunciation of J's as Y's. Someone told him that they were going to Popeyes, and he confused it for Papa John's. And he insisted that he wanted pepperoni pizza, to which he was told repeatedly, they don't have pizza, it's a chicken place. He was very confused until chicken showed up.
Because he thought it was Papayons.
But it's Jarla here.
I mean,
That's just inconsistency.
it's just quite yarring.
It's just wrong. I'm sorry, just wrong. Let's take a look at Orange's deck. And like you said, a Warrior Mirror match.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I'm always excited about these.
All right. Let's break it down then. This matchup with a Bomb Warrior Mirror as opposed to the Control Warrior Mirror can be somewhat explosive, if you will, haha. But they can also go very much into the late game, which is where Orange very much has the advantage in game one. Whereas you can see right at the end there, a nerfed Archivist Elysiana, 9 mana as opposed to 10, which obviously means he doesn't have Brewmasters or Baleful Bankers in his primary to shuffle it back in. Just relying on apart from that, the very much standard Bomb Warrior plan. 1 copy of Weapons Project is somewhat interesting, and only 1 Omega Assembly could hold him back a little bit, but I would say the double Elic, all the bomb cards he's got in there, and Elysiana put him very much an advantage in game 1.
I agree with the game one circumstance. I think the ability to go to Fatigue can give you a major advantage. Something I look at for Jarla's deck, however, is the Geppetto Joy Buzz and how powerful that effect can be. The fact that you can get major swing turns with like with Blastmaster Boom, or have an extra Clockwork Goblin or what have you for a big Elic turn.
Yeah.
I think those are big deals. And if you look at the side decks here, for Orange, he is going into Seaphorian Bombers with the Cannon and the Grommash Hellscream, where Jarla is moving into the Seaphorian Bombers, adds an Archivist Elysiana to offset that Fatigue plan, and then has Barista Lynchen to duplicate the battle cries.
That's the spicy tech.
Having turns where you do stuff like Geppetto Joy Buzz, and then you play a bomb thing, and then you play a Barista, that is like game-ending potential that's there. And so when I look at the second game and the third game, the question for me is going to be whether or not Orange can leverage an advantage to actually eliminate Jarla because of Grommash Hellscream.
Well, that's the thing, is that the dynamic flips in games 1 and 2. In game 1, where they obviously have to play their primary deck in Specialist format, John is at the advantage of Orange. Sorry, I'm getting into the...
excuse me, Jan?
Jon is at, yeah, Orange is at the advantage in game 1 in terms of Fatigue, because he has Archivist Elysiana, and obviously Jarla does not. In game 2, they both have Archivist Elysiana, but Jarla can play the Barista Lynchen with Geppetto Joy Buzz to get multiple activations, potentially, of the Archivist Elysiana, at which point he has the advantage in Fatigue. But that far from means that that either player will be necessarily winning the matchup, because going for the aggressive tempo game plan very much works a lot of the time.
Yeah, so that to me is the interesting flip as well, is that Jarla is the aggressor in game 1. The onus is on Jarla to end the game.
Yes, absolutely.
Because if it goes evenly, Orange wins. In game number 2, the onus is on Orange to end the game. Not because he has to, but because he can. He has Grommash Hellscream for an additional 10 damage out of nothing.
Yeah.
Jarla has to respect that and has to play from a defensive measure. You can't just let yourself take a ton of damage.
It's a very weird position, especially as they both slot in double Seaphorian Bomber.
How rare is it that that happens?
It's a very strange dynamic. I don't think I've seen this in any of the Warrior mirrors so far.
I love Warrior.
Well, I agree with you. Like, the theory of it is so interesting, and the way you have to play it, it's just like, it takes so long.
Well, that's part of the relaxing point to me, too. I just watch the armor just going ding, 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 ding. Keeps adding up. Like, you ever played, like, why can't I remember the name of this game?
What?
Mahjong?
I'm aware of it. I've never played it.
It is very relaxing. I don't know why.
Right.
It's very, at times, very frustrating. But, you know, akin to Hearthstone, it can also be very relaxing.
Right. Well, I agree it can be relaxing. And, you know, maybe I'm being a little bit down on Warrior Mirrors. Like I said, there's a lot of interesting theory that goes into it.
Yeah, you just like excitement.
I just wish that we could fast forward the first few turns where it's of less consequence how it's played. I feel like it's definitely the mid to late game where the real artistry of the deck comes into play. But, I mean, you know, even having said that, Orange is still in a position where he's playing out his minions on curve, even just the Acolyte here, where it is playing into exactly Militia Commander or Wrench Caliber, leaving it very, very likely to die. He's still happy to throw it down.
Yeah, I think you would want to see those tools from your opponent. The Wrench Caliber offers you the counterplay for Harrison.
Exactly.
And the Militia Commander would leave you the counterplay for your own Militia
Commander. Yeah. He's got all bases covered there. And I think with the fact that he already has clearly a very full hand and Dr. Boom Mad Genius in hand to refill a lot of his value potential, or refill his hand with value mechs, I think that's a fine way to play this out.
So 2 ways that I look at this turn. Number 1 is Orange can coin Harrison, which will delay the Dr. Boom. Number 2 is he can hope that Jarla will not swing with the weapon to conserve the coin to get Dr. Boom online quicker.
I think I prefer this.
I prefer this because this puts a 5/4 into play and it blows up a weapon.
Yeah, it also does not play into Dynamatic because
Correct.
it stays alive at... Oh, sorry. It's very, very likely that Harrison Jones stays alive at 1 health, given that there are...
50% chance?
Well, it's better than that, right? Because the
Oh,
other
yeah,
one only
it's
has
way
2
better
health.
than that.
It's very, very likely.
1, 2. Oh, yeah, it's way likely.
Yeah.
If this is the lone minion, I actually don't know if Orange would have done this.
I think he definitely would not have done it, to be honest. I think just drawing a card and destroying your opponent's weapon is valuable, but it's the fact that he gets a 5/4 in play, which is a very real aspect of going for this play, because although it sparked up some Twitter debate yesterday with how Frozen was playing this matchup against, I believe it was Eddie in that particular matchup, whether or not he could have played more aggressively was his argument that he was not able to play more aggressively. But Eddie was saying he thinks it's more of a tempo matchup. You just want to play out your cards, get stuff in play quickly, rather than a late game matchup. And again, Frozen, I didn't say you were playing wrong, buddy. That was
Wow.
my example to lead to the fact that that's bringing up the fact that it is very often a tempo-based matchup.
I liked Frozen's line in that game.
Yes.
I think what it was an example of is the payoff tempo gives. If Frozen gets the bomb draws, he's going to die.
Yeah.
Like, the defensive line does not have counterplay to simply drawing the bomb cards, other than a deviation of game plan, which by effect would mean that you're not playing a purely defensive game plan. You know, he was very much favoring armor ups, which I agree with. I think that you have a lot of time to armor up in specific situations, and that's exactly what the tempo plan tries to drive you away from, is the ability to continuously armor up.
Yeah.
It's if you're going to play the tempo game plan, which I very much agree it can be a tempo matchup, but you have to have the right mix of cards. It's something you need to do. And so to me, that is the artistry of the deck, is balancing the difference between a tempo game plan, a reactive game plan, and then a merge of those 2 ranges where your opponent is trying to still guess which of those plans you're on. It's a really, really weird thing, and I love to watch it happen.
Yeah, I think it is a very, very interesting dynamic when we get to that point.
And so for Jarla, because he does not have Archivist Elysiana in the main deck, and then also because the Town Crier doesn't really provide a benefit here, you know, you not only hold on to this, but I think even if Town Crier was providing major benefit, you have to consider not using it because Jarla simply needs time. He's going to already get cards from his deck with Geppetto Joybuzz. I think there's an argument for not thinning your deck with the Town Crier here.
That's very interesting. I think like the reason he's not playing it here is because the body doesn't really do anything at the moment. Oh, actually, it doesn't draw a card, right? Because he's got all the rush cards in his hand. So it's just playing a 1/2 here.
Right. What I'm saying is, even if it was providing something here, I think there's, depending on what the rest of your hand is, there's a consideration for not playing it.
So this is actually a really important part of this matchup for Jarla's theory, right, isn't it? Which is, he never wins in fatigue. We can agree on that, right? The Archivist Elysiana for Orange means in the late game, eventually, if Jarla does not kill him, Orange will win.
Right.
So, how does Jarla play aggressively, given that he has to? Does he not draw any cards to give himself the maximum amount of time to play out his cards? Does he play as aggressively? Does he draw as aggressively as possible to accrue all his resources at once and make 1 or 2 big pushes onto the board?
I think the answer is it depends.
Right.
And so with Jarla's current hand, you know, I'm looking at lots of ways to get something on board and fend off what the opponent is doing.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of ways to get action going. And so I think for Jarla, it's like a balance of those draws where, like, again, he doesn't have any rushes left in the deck, so that's why the Town Crier, you know, is absolutely not coming down the spot.
Yeah.
You want it to have it for a brawl. Even if it was providing a rush minion here, the rest of his hand is just so poor that I think you need to see what's panning out and what your game plan is before you can make a big decision.
I am of the opinion, I'm fully aware that you are a more experienced Control Warrior player, or at least Bomb Warrior player than I am. I seem to be of the opinion, having watched a lot of these matches, that when you are in this situation that Jarla is, you're never going to win in fatigue, you have to play quickly, you just want to draw as quick as you can. Like, I think you just want to turbo through your deck, because I think the situation can be, if you don't make really powerful plays kind of clumped together, which makes the removal more difficult to come down from Orange, then you're just going to lose more slowly.
Yeah, I usually agree with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I think you want to play risky, just go all in with these plays and hope that the damage can get you there. As we see the answer coming down for Jarla.
7, 11,
What?
15.
Whoa!
17 damage was the battle cry from Blastmaster Boom, which leaves a minion on board and forced a brawl.
Absolutely disgusting. Oh man, and here Orange even has the follow-up of another Dr. Boom, a different kind of Dr. Boom, the mad genius to come down and provide him continual tempo with all the mechs that rush in.
Notice that he played Blastmaster Boom first. In my opinion, the card more powerful than Dr. Boom Mad Genius.
Well, with respect to what? With this matchup, or just in overall?
I just really want to hate on the Dr. Boom card.
Well, I mean, I agree that 7 mana for a 7/7 and 6 boom bots is beyond absurd.
Yeah, it's way beyond absurd.
Like, it was much more powerful than doing literally nothing to the board, which is what Dr. Boom Mad Genius does. I think we can agree with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to hate on the card.
Fair enough.
See, for Jarla this game, Blastmaster Boom would not be nearly as good as Dr. Boom would be.
Yeah.
He's the aggressor. He needs the gas in order to be able to push.
As this Geppetto Joybuzz is pretty good if you're looking to go aggressive. Alec into Clockwork Goblin, I mean, the fact that they're 1/1s is not really your biggest concern here. It's really just that you want to get them bombs in that deck.
Yeah, and so now this helps give Jarla actually like a finality in game plan. Where which direction does he go? The answer is a giant augmented Alec turn somehow.
Yeah.
So how does he create that? So now, once you see that, when you have these two, now the draw as aggressively as possible plan very much in my mind sticks out as absolutely the direction that you would like to go.
If he can draw a card, he will draw a card. It's very simple. Assuming he doesn't have something better to do. He won't forego drawing a card because it's bad.
But Orange is going to be safe for a long time.
He is not dying anytime soon. Good lord. His hand is better. I mean, his board, I guess, is technically worse because Jarla has a 1/1 in play.
Yeah. Jarla, I
But
think
he's got so much more health as well.
Jarla's
which is
looking
a huge
for
deal.
specifically Acolyte of Pain, I imagine, at this point.
Yeah.
So Dr. Boom Mad Genius, good draw, and Acolyte of Pain, good draw. Everything else, pretty darn weak. I guess Omega Assembly's looking pretty good.
Of which he has 2 in the deck, whereas Orange only has 1. So yeah, he's more likely to find that to get a little bit of extra mechage.
Lone copy of Acolyte of Pain, though.
Yeah. It's a very interesting list of Bomb Warrior. And I'm surprised to see that Geppetto Joybuzz has made its way in without the Barista Lynchen or Archivist Elysiana tech, because that was definitely what it felt like was the package that you were putting in with this Bomb Warrior deck.
Yeah, to me, it's just felt like that getting a 1-cost Elec or a 1-cost Clockwork Goblin has been a major effect.
Well, Casey tweeted out the other day something to the effect of, imagine running out of cards in Bomb Warrior because you're not playing Geppetto Joybuzz.
Yeah, that's what it's felt like.
Yeah, exactly. You just get a lot of extra draw. It gives you extra fuel.
The first time I saw the deck, I was like, this is ridiculous. This can't work. And I queued it up, and I played Geppetto, and it fetched me a Blastmaster Boom, and I played it the same turn. I was like, this is almost the exact same thing.
Oh my god, as yet more very powerful mechs. Well, the Security Rover and the Beryllium Nullifier, both of which are going to be buffed in the upcoming patch.
Love the Rover here. Rover it's a hard card to use, but when it's usable, it's extremely annoying. And so I think Orange here is really got to consider if this is the turn for Security Rover, because for me, all signs point to yes, you have plenty of backup to this. You don't need to have the aggressive pressure. You are the inevitable winner in this one if the cards go evenly.
Could use the Boom Reaver to thin his deck a little bit quicker and get himself closer to Archivist
That's
Elysiana.
not how Boom Reaver works, and I know that you're looking at me with that look that says that's not how it works.
For those of you unaware how stupid I am, I forgot that it doesn't pull a minion from the deck 3 times on broadcast.
Once, it was twice in one game.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if you're going to just lean into that hard, I'm going to...
Classic Derek, to be fair.
Saying it for years.
There we go. That is a card. That does something. He's still got to find a way to deal with this Brilliant Nullifier, but if he can get himself an Omega Devastator, that does that pretty nicely. But does he even go for it? Is Dynamatic Ziliax ever a consideration?
It's only 6.
Yeah.
So you'd have to
You'd
add
have
the
to
Super
swing.
Slider.
Oof.
I don't mind it. I mean, it's tough to get used out of Dynamatics. The thing I'm thinking about is Orange has not played Augmented Relic and has not used Militia Commander, and you also have your own Acolytes, which, you know, granted, you have Warpath for your own Acolytes. But the fact that Dynomatic is just getting 0 tempo, realistically, is a big deal.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think this is an Omega Assembly turn. But,
I mean, if he hits the Devastator and can magnetize the Ziliax onto it, I mean, I guess he wouldn't do that until he can heal right away.
yeah, the thing that I'm looking at is that Jarla has to feel it is in a pretty desperate position.
Yes.
I don't think that conservative play is enough, which that may be exactly what this is. It's not a conservative play. I think the Omega Assembly and hope for a good outcome is actually quite a conservative play, all things considered. I think this is a very aggressive use of tools where you're trying to force Orange to have to answer things and maybe open up a window of opportunity.
I mean, we can just quite clearly see there's a multitude of ways to deal with this without even giving Jarla the health. We could see a Mega Devastator, Shield Slam, Magnetize on a Ziliax to, I guess the only other mech is a Mega Devastator, which kills it anyway. But basically, this lifesteal is not going to pan out for Jarla if he was hoping that something would have to rush into it.
Yeah, I think I am in major favor of Orange actually using Omega Devastator in this spot. Normally, this is a card where I want to use it when I have one single threat down and to try to push the issue here.
Okay.
Here, it denies 6 health, and it's quite clear from Jarla's play that he's having trouble answering board presence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from Orange's perspective, I think I want to try to take advantage of that now.
So what's the rest of his turn looking like with his mana usage?
Well, I'm using the laser.
Yes.
I mean, I'm really tempted to just stick
go
a Militia
Devastator
Commander.
thing.
Just jam it down. It's still 2-5.
I
Opponent
think
just use a Dynamatic.
I think in this position, though, for Orange, do you think it's worth holding on to the majority of his rush cards? Because if he plays them out, that then gives Jarla the opportunity to use his removal, then develop his minions afterwards. Whereas if he saves all the rush minions in his hand, he can use them to instantly kill the minions that Jarla plays.
I think it's, long story short, it's not going to matter too much because Orange has all the removal.
I prefer this. Because, like, say he goes Militia Commander here, 5 Warpaths come down, and then that's just an answer in the Militia Commander that Orange has lost. That's just gone.
Yeah, that's a true story.
Obviously,
I like using 10 of my opponent's mana. Ooh! Okay. Big draw. So the question actually for Jarla here, I don't think this is a simple Dr. Boom because you have to consider your armor getting shredded and losing Shield Slam. So I think there is a consideration for using the Omega Assembly in that turn.
Yeah.
And then following up with a big Shield Slam. However, without the ability to generate tempo, that's where you reach this conclusion. You go, you know what? This just needs to be in play.
I totally hear your point. I think it's a fairly easy Dr. Boom there. I think you have 7 mana. You need to start doing something spectacular.
Yeah.
Regular hero power is not spectacular. It's fine in a kind of fatiguey state. But again, Jarla is not winning the fatigue battle. He just needs to do something magnificent right now to pull this board state back.
Gotta be aggressive.
Yeah.
God, I love Shield Slamming with that card, though.
What, Dr. Boom Shield Slam?
Yeah.
That does feel good.
It feels like
It was meant to happen.
yeah, like an actual big game hunter. Where I'm like, I'm gonna blow that up. By the way, this is very threatening.
Quite the turn here for Orange as well, both removing the Super Collider and putting a big board in play and shuffling 2 bombs into Jarla's deck, which he cannot replace because he does not have an Archivist Elysiana to destroy the bombs in his deck. Huge amount of value able to come down here for Jarla, though.
There's a number of bombs in Jarla's deck, too. So I actually think that drawing might be off the table.
This is just Warpath here. 5 Warpaths.
I would 4 hero power and tank the 4.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not foregoing the back,
Yeah,
tell you that.
Yeah.
Ooh!
Ziliax.
Okay.
The classic when you discover Tarim off Stonehill and you don't instantly pick it. Similar with this, you discover Ziliax and you don't instantly click it to make them think you don't have the Ziliax, despite the fact that it was the only choice there.
Yeah, I think you just need the life.
Absolutely. And then, as I said, the fact that Orange has developed onto the board here does allow Jarla to both remove on this turn and then develop into a cleaner board on the following turn. I don't think that Orange was wrong necessarily to throw down the Goblin Bomb and the Augmented Elec. But,
I think this is fine.
Do you think Orange should ever have considered holding back the Goblin, the Clockwork Goblin, because it can act as a rusher to go for removal?
No, I think he should be playing the way he is.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I think that it's a tough line to take when you have the inevitability to understand when you've turned a corner, and you can put the aggressor into a position where they have to play defense, and eventually your offense becomes a defensive measure. Your opponent has to answer it, and they run out of ways to be aggressive. Orange
does have to be somewhat careful, though, in this situation, because obviously I fully agree he's still very much in the lead.
Yeah, this attorney doesn't really have to do anything.
Yes, but he can't just be throwing away his resources willy-nilly in this game. He needs to be having a specific purpose for every card in his hand, which I think from this point on is just to play removal. Unless he gets a really nice big mech, he just kills off everything every turn and he should win.
I think he's recognized that he's forced enough defensive measure from Jarla that getting aggressive for Jarla is basically going to be, next to impossible.
Yep.
So Jarla, I think, is looking for exactly second Wrench Caliber now.
Right.
To have the Augmented Elec Clockwork Caliber turn. I mean, you shovel 6 bombs in your opponent's deck. There's going to be a way you win. It's that.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as he does that, though, Orange just lets rip. Wow, okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now, he could if he's able to set Wrench Caliber, which he is, Orange doesn't have any weapon removal left. I mean, we could look at 8 bomb shuffles in a single turn.
Or he could just go off right now.
He could go off right now as well.
Kind of wants to play the Ziliax, though, right, this turn, because he really doesn't want to take another swing of the weapon.
Nothing to run into.
Well, I mean, just preemptively, right, because it maybe stops the weapon from connecting base.
Yeah. You do have, I mean, a single bomb kills you at that point.
Yeah.
Gosh, if you play Ziliax, though, it is so often just dying and 0 benefit.
Is he just passing? He's keeping the 10 cards. He's keeping the 10 cards. Smart.
God, Jarla's always got something up his sleeve.
You can't draw the bombs from your deck if you don't have any space in your hand to draw.
You could smile and point to your temple with that one.
Yeah.
There's even a GIF that you can search up for that. It's really convenient.
What's that?
A GIF. You know, like an animated picture
with no sound.
It often does not have sound, yeah.
I'm aware.
I can hear it in my head still, though.
What sound accompanies the tapping the head?
I hear like background music.
I hear a tap of the head.
I hear like different sitcom themes.
Your brain is truly a wonderland, Admirable. There's just so much going on there. As now down to the 4 health, 1 bomb would kill Jarla unless he presses this hero power, obviously, which eats up 2 of his mana on this turn.
Mind you, he doesn't necessarily have to do anything yet.
Does he just do nothing?
Well, if he presses the armor button, he's at 11.
He takes 6 damage, though, with the Wrench Caliber and the hero
draw
power.
A bomb, though.
Yeah,
and the minute that Orange
6 damage.
The minute that Orange plays something, he's got a Ziliax to back it up. I actually think he's supposed to be doing nothing here. It's the next time he's going to play something is when he can discover a mech. Like, why risk it? Jarla's... I learn something from Jarla every time I watch.
Yeah.
And as soon as he does it, I'm like, why didn't I ever think of that?
Yeah.
He is very good at these warrior matchups.
And I guess that the thinking is, if he goes for 6 bombs shuffled into Orange's deck, what difference does that really make? Orange can just go for Archivist Elysiana, snap.
Even if he just drew all 6 bombs,
right,
Orange is
it's still fine. Yeah, it's true.
I think this is great play from Jarla.
I guess so. Okay, so then I guess if he's thought through his game plan here, is he anticipating that something good comes at the end of it, or is he just saying, every other play I make, I just lose on the spot? Like, what's his end game with this game plan? How does he turn this into a win?
A, I think, yes, if he makes a play, he will lose on the spot. B, I think he's hoping that Orange makes a mistake. Like, Orange, eventually, his hand's going to get full up. So the idea from Jarla's side is if Orange does not have Archivist Elysiana, he has to be playing something. When he plays something, I then have an opportunity to Ziliax.
Okay, then.
And Orange does not know that there is a Ziliax in hand because the natural Ziliax in the deck has been played.
Correct.
This is a discovered one. He was still considering it. He was very much considering not playing the Omega Devastator. Well, or the Dynamatic, sorry.
From Orange's perspective, I think he has another turn he could wait. I think that the real play from Orange is a heed to discover a mech hero power, where if he has to discover a mech, he's going to have to spend 2 cards at that point.
Yeah.
Spending 2 cards on 8
then.
mana, when most of your stuff is pretty expensive, is very difficult. And so I think that the play here is both for hand space, and at the same time, a heed to the fact that if Jarla's just going to keep overdrawing, is he really getting an advantage? Like, I think Orange in this perspective does have inevitability as well. So I don't think Orange has to do anything in that spot.
Problem here for Jarla is if he does play the Ziliax Mech Magnetize combo on this turn, he will basically be unable to fill his hand up to 10 cards for quite a few turns.
Yeah, so it would be the following turn, I think, with Acolyte. With Acolyte and Warpath.
But even then, the Warpath becomes the 10th card in your hand, right? And then will disappear at the end of the turn.
If the 3rd Warpath draws you up to 10 cards, that's not the case.
Oh, right, okay. Ah, okay. I mean, he's then aggressively drawing through his deck, though, right? Which might just draw him to the bombs themselves, which is...
Long story short, he's going to have to take a risk.
He is indeed, and pray that those bombs don't end up in his hand, despite the fact that the 2 cards he's overdrawn have been Omega Devastator and Wrench Caliber. Obviously, neither of which are bombs.
And speaking of Devastator, this is twice now Orange has faced down a lifesteal minion, and twice he gets to kill it cleanly without a second attack of the lifesteal. And so Orange here, I imagine, is probably going to move in about as aggressively as possible.
Does he ever consider the Elysiana Shield Slam plan? Because, like, we can see there's a whole bunch of bombs that Jarla can shuffle in, which he would like to replace when he plays the Elysiana. But I'm just wondering if, from Orange's position, trying to ignore what Jarla's hand is, would he ever think that's the way to go? I don't think so. Yeah.
He's going to forego everything, just Warpath.
I think like the one way that Orange loses here is if he plays the Archivist Elysiana and then Jarla just goes bomb crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like shuffles everything into his deck.
Elysiana is almost specifically there to fill your deck up large enough that you won't guarantee draw bombs or to replace bombs. That's it. And so
I
now,
agree.
Jarla, chance to die.
A pretty respectable chance to just die on the spot as well. Getting real tense here.
Yeah, I'm still very concerned.
Can't play the Boom Reaver either because it gets him closer to drawing a bomb from his deck.
That is not how it works, Derek. And you know that.
Then.
I don't think you can play the Boom Reaver because it sucks right now.
Wouldn't the best end to that joke be that I still haven't learned that it shuffles in, I'm just laughing because you're laughing?
Even as you're acknowledging this right now. You're just like, stupid Admirable
Just saying
thinks it
words.
still makes a copy.
What a funny joke we're having.
Okay, then.
So he is at 9 cards in hand. Like you were saying, Acolyte Warpath, like he can get himself up to 10 cards, but he draws 3 cards in the process, which probably just kills him, so that's not really a possibility.
I think his plan is wiser to simply just draw the natural card next turn and hope that's good enough. No armors found.
Yep. Just, I mean, miserable hero powers. Discover a mech or hero power, or armor, sorry.
And mind you, I
The
think
only ones
Orange,
that mattered.
if Orange had a minion in play last turn, this Wrench Caliber swing would be way scarier for Jarla. The fact that there's a
And Jarla would
2-bomb
just
breakpoint still,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like even just the Militia Commander. You know, so
This
think
would be
back
a
like
good
turns and
time for
turns
a
and turns
master
ago where maybe that
plan.
could have chipped for 2 damage.
That's true. That is true.
Orange, though, he's been accounting for how do I lose the game. You know, there's a lot of different ways to get to the same place with Warrior.
I think overall, from Orange's position, I think he's recognized it well that he does not need to tempo onto the board too aggressively.
Doesn't
He
need
just
to do
needs to
anything.
make sure that Jarla's removal is weak so that he can't use his removal and then Orange doesn't have any rush minions left to clear up what Jarla develops.
Oh, I love that fuse thing. Okay, then.
He's wondering about if he should play around like another Ziliax, I guess, by killing off all these minions and not allowing anything to magnetize on.
Yeah, just magnetize in general.
I guess.
Is,
yeah.
Heed.
Would anything else be bad? Like even a Mega Devastator, sorry, the Beryllium Nullifier would still die to his Omega Devastator.
Oh, hang on. So Acolyte, Eternium Rover, that puts you at 8 cards in hand. Warpath put you at 7 to 8 cards in hand, plus the Warpath that's there. So then you get to Warpath 2 more times. 3, 4.
I mean, just can't do that, right? Like,
I don't know.
He just has to pass.
I think he has to pass.
Yeah, I think this is
but,
way better.
I mean, now there's a lot of damage on the other end.
Orange draws his first bomb in a while. And when the bombs start coming, they don't stop coming.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he was considering playing the Elysiana, was to negate the bombs that were already there.
Yes. But it's scary now because he has to imagine that there are more bombs that can be shuffled in by Jarla.
Something else that's interesting here is Jarla has a unique position where if you don't draw the bomb, the bombs get diffused by the overdraw, you actually don't replace it either. So you could, in theory, have 10 additional cards in your deck right now. So for Orange, he actually will hit Fatigue and be forced to play Archivist Elysiana, where then Jarla gets to respond.
I'd honestly never even considered that.
I didn't consider it until just now either.
It's literally just giving Jarla longer until Fatigue. He's still behind.
Oh, he's very behind.
Even with Orange drawing aggressively and Jarla having these extra activations. This game, man. And he could just, oh no wait, with the 10 cards, he's still in no danger of dying.
He cannot die to a bomb. So Orange here is going to create some board pressure.
He doesn't want to swing until the cards have been played. These are some miserable burns for Jarla, my goodness. Wrench Caliber, Omega Devastator, and now Omega Assembly.
Anything that's not a bomb defusal
is terrible.
Yeah, and so my question now is how does he get into this spot, because he does not have efficient answers to this.
Yep, clearing out a card, discovering one again.
Magnetic.
Yes.
But goodness gracious, you're gonna die. I mean, you got to do something to the board this turn, or you lose.
Like, he could play the Wargear, magnetize it on, and then rush it in to gain some armor straight away, but that leaves him at 9 cards.
Okay,
he could then just draw a bunch of bombs.
And the fact that non-bombs have been drawn a lot, and there's still a Wrench Caliber.
It has to be like at least 50% bombs at this point, right?
I always get
just shuffled in so many.
I get so deeply lost in watching their lines and watching their thinking and seeing like a discovery of the new angle as the game continues to go. I just need to tick mark them. Heck, even when TJ and Dan are tick marking them, I still see him lose count. And when you're just watching the game, you're like, there's 4 bombs, duh. As soon as you start talking about it, for whatever reason, you just lose the ability to use your fingers and count to 4. Like,
well, thankfully, you don't need to be able to count past 5 to cast these upcoming turns for Jarla, because he is down to 9 cards in hand. He can now draw bombs. Orange has enough damage to put him down to 4 health. 3 health even with the hero power.
Can you imagine a magnetic there? Oh, he does. That's a 2/5. That's not a mech. Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine?
In my head, I was thinking of magnetic, and I was like, yeah, punch him.
I mean, that would have been crazy. I mean, we could see the Coppertail Imposter coming down this turn in order to set up for a magnetized Ziliax on top of it next turn.
I think Orange got the word that pressure's working. So I think that, his test gave him the information that he wanted, and it's just leverage that now. Keep Jarla's hand empty.
So how does he proceed? Because I think he kind of wants to save the Shield Slam for the Elysiana turn so that he's not left completely answerless on the turn that he wants to play that.
I agree.
So, Omega Devastator? Yeah?
I was kind of just like a bulldozer. That's the real.
Okay,
that's the real sleeper of that set. 9/7. Deal with it.
Huh. This does get Jarla down to 6 health, but the hero power would have gotten down to 5.
I just like the bomb swing because you know what? He's got to draw 2 bombs in a row to die anyway.
Well, no, because
Spot.
if he'd gone Omega Devastator and Hero Power, he would have got Jarla down to 6
Yes.
as opposed, sorry, to 5 as opposed to 6.
I agree it increases his chances, but Jarla has to expend this turn. He's out of Omega Devastators. He actually does not have a way to fill up the hand outside of a Warpath turn, which he can't go for a Warpath turn right now.
Okay.
So no matter what, you're getting the bomb shuffles in there. And so at this point, the plan for Orange is just keep Jarla contained, so that way you can't win the game.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm tunnel visioning too much on getting the immediate potential for lethal.
Which I think there's a lot of merit for.
Yeah. It's close. I think it's close.
To me, that's the beauty of Warrior. All your plays have merit. You just got
That
to.
is what makes it interesting. It's very rare that you see.
You just have to be clever enough to describe all of your plays in a way that when they in fact are stupid, they don't look that way.
If only.
If only we were all purple.
He is the man who can make anything sound like the play. There you have it, back down to 9 cards again.
Oh my goodness.
Another bomb available for Orange.
I want to say that would be the 4th bomb.
Okay then.
Really? He's played like Elic Wrench Caliber early on. Like, Jarla hasn't drawn that many bombs, right? He took the vast
He drew
majority
2
of
of
the
them.
damage from Blastmaster.
He drew 2 bombs early.
Is it really that few? I thought it was more than that.
So it was 2 swings of Wrench Caliber,
One of which had an Elic,
one of which had an Elic.
then another 2 swings of Wrench Caliber.
So that's
Okay then.
that's 5 bombs total. 2 of them have been drawn, 3s, and then 2 more shuffled in here from that Wrench Caliber. So there's 5. I believe there's 5 bombs in the deck then.
I think that's
4 or
that's a
5?
very reasonable estimation.
Okay.
So pretty much half the deck.
I'm gonna track it next game. I promise. If I don't track it, please yell at me on Twitter. My
Or
Twitter
just-
is @Darrock_Brown. Kidding.
I'm going to yell at you to your face. Rather. Yep. The game plan here for Orange is very simple. He's just carrying on with the removal and even keeping it stealthed in order to attach the Ziliax. How is Jarla not dead? How? I mean,
he's probably dead here.
he can 5 times Warpath to stop the Ziliax lethal.
Yeah, then you die to bomb draw
Bombs.
lethal.
Yes.
Is there...
Okay
How many
then.
bombs can he shuffle into Orange's deck? 1,
Does he
2,
brawl?
3, 4.
He has to brawl. Oh!
That's the right call.
He's got to just go for it and hope he wins. Woo! He won.
So now he gets to fill the hand.
Eternium Rover's nice.
Yep.
A Rushing Whelp's pretty good, but yeah, he needs the armor. He needs the armor. This game is mental.
This story does
And here it
not
is. The Elysiana finally comes down. This is what both Orange and Jarla were waiting for.
Oh, charge
Torchron
damage.
Elite. Woodcutter's Axe, that's more damage.
And it's a weapon. I like weapons.
I like weapons too.
Wait, does that buff your minions from Dr. Boom having Rush?
I think yes, but I'm honestly not sure.
I've actually not encountered that interaction.
I'm pretty sure yes. Eternium Rover? Town Crier, draw a Rush minion.
Let's scheme up here.
Did he make the scheme there?
He might have. You know, honestly, I've played this scheme.
Don't even go there. It's worse than you think.
It is horrible in aggressive matchups. In these kinds of matchups, it's pretty darn good.
Oh, really? When you draw it from your hand, when you draw it from your deck, and it take a turn before you play it. Another Corcoran Elite, however,
That's
is
a lot of charge
fantastic.
damage.
This is a huge amount of damage.
Yeah, if we could get the spectator to hover over that real quick just to double check. There we go. Yeah, he took the scheme.
He took the scheme.
So 4 Corcrons, 2 Axes, 2 Dread Corsair, 2 schemes.
4 mana to gain armor.
Armor.
Armor. I don't like the sound of that. But it looks like for the moment, it really just won't even matter because Jarla really has to have something amazing happen right now.
Well, that's pretty amazing.
That's one of the better ones. The best one, dare I say. Shame he loses the ability to go for it with a battle cry later on. But
Oh, and he's facing the damage on the other side. Oh, he's just going to die to a bomb, isn't he? He's played this game so well, too.
It was very cool to watch. It was very, very cool.
No, not while the armor's showing. Come on, game. This is just cruel.
Is there...
No.
If he goes shield block and hits Corcoran Elite, then that's lethal.
3, 7 mana, 4,
9
5,
mana.
6, yeah.
Yeah. But then again, you know, does he even have to go for that is the question. Because he has even just a Mega Devastator hero power. Clears pretty much everything up and sets up lethal. He definitely wants to deal 1 damage in some way.
All right, well, there's the damage.
Yeah, that's a fine way to start.
I just shuffle another bomb for good measure is what I do.
Romantic does 5 damage to the Blastmaster Boom.
Yeah, I want a Devastator trade and play. I want Devastator Clockwork Goblin.
Trade the Goblin.
Yeah.
That sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
Like, I think you need to seize the spot right here where Jarla can draw bombs because he's got the armor showing.
Jarla has to have like 2 or 3 cards that aren't bombs in his deck now, right?
This also works with the Clockwork Goblin in double trade.
Does it? Wasn't this just bad? I guess he's valuing the battle cry of a Mega Devastator.
Yeah, which is, I think that's very reasonable.
That's very... well, I can understand the reasoning.
I want the Clockwork Goblin this turn.
And here we go. What? He's still alive! How? And he gets the hero power this turn. How many bombs are in his deck, Admirable?
6, I think?
Is Jarla literally just Neo? He is the chosen one.
Look, he's got to pop off with these hero powers from here because Orange has got 4 Corcoran Elites in the deck.
You are not incorrect.
Jarla only has to deal 58 more damage.
Yeah, all right. Even Neo would struggle with it.
Diffusal.
He finally drew a bomb.
He can't play anything.
He cannot. Does he actually have 1 card left in the deck that's not?
I believe.
Is it just Blastmaster Boom?
It's Blastmaster Boom, I believe, is the lone card left. Because
I'm going about it, and I'm thinking everything else has been played.
Town Crier's been gone, Attorney Rover's gone. I'm looking at this list right now. I believe every single card
pretty much
has been played except for Blastmaster Boom.
The Super Collider. Has a Dynamatic been left? I don't even know, man. But like you said, he doesn't have a choice. He just has to overdraw every bomb in his deck and pray that he somehow gets there.
Getting so many kabooms. But the kaboom does line up actually kind of nicely this turn because Orange has the 3/1/1s.
That's true. As Orange is still missing on any card that does much damage at all. But, ooh boy, is that scheme good for him here.
I didn't say I would have taken it. I said I've put it in a deck before, and in aggro matchups it's terrible, and in these matchups it's actually pretty good.
I have seen it be teched into anti-warrior mirror matchups in Specialist. I hate it. I hate it, but I've seen it.
You have not lived until you've gained 26 armor from a Dr. Boom scheme. Second bomb defusal. But something's got to give.
Hero power swing. He can clear the board.
Do you? Oh yeah, you can't shield slam.
He can't Warpath lest he draw on another card. But if he swings, he's down to, what, 5 health, 2 health? With the hero power as well. He's just got to find
to
Corcoran.
He's got to find the discovery next turn. He's got to live and find a discovery next turn. He could also,
so
he could spend a card and draw the card that is not the bomb as well.
But he needs to pinpoint the exact turn when he has to spend a card, right? Because this is not necessarily that turn.
Game. Orange just leverages it. I think Jarla piloted this position well. He's just in a bad position here in game number 1. And he got put into a tough spot when Orange had an insanely good start with the Blastmaster Boom. And the Blastmaster Boom's total damage from boom bots was enough to keep Jarla contained in that position the entirety of the game.
Jarla just had his back against the wall. I would argue even earlier than from turn 7. I am staggered that he managed to survive that long. It seemed incredibly unlikely that he would survive even if he hadn't died in the last couple turns, even if Orange hadn't rolled any charge damage or weapons off the Archivist Elysiana, which is pretty likely to happen when you're playing Warrior. I still think Jarla was in a pretty miserable situation, given that he just does not have any of that fatigue late game plan with Archivist Elysiana. in his primary, in his other deck, is it his tertiary, that changes quite drastically.
Indeed it does, and that's what we have in store for you. Both players adding on more bombs and ways to eliminate the opponent and generate some value in this one. Quick break, and when we come back, we're heading into our second game of our match of the day. Stay tuned.
Now the cards show me a tinker, so clever, but kind of a stinker. In a storm that's a raging, sits the last one I'm paging, a truly unusual thinker. All bots are now gonna go boom, but still, you shouldn't assume that I've made this selection on my own direction.
No, indeed, let's be clear. I have brought you all here, and now you're all in. It is time to begin.
I am Frosty. I am an Australian Hearthstone player. My first reaction to being in Grandmasters was I was ecstatic. You know, I was absolutely bouncing around the walls, and then it sort of came crashing back down to me that it felt like I had these huge expectations because I realized that I was the only Australian person in all of Grandmasters. I didn't want to let anybody down. One of the things I'd like to do this year is I'd like to make worlds through the new system. I want to be able to prove to people that I'm not just, you know, a weak competitor in this field, and that I'm definitely a contender to be one of the strongest. When it comes to playstyle, I am a big fan of building big creatures and just smashing my opponent in the face. I feel that it's really important to be able to have another focus besides Hearthstone in your life so that you don't get burnt out. I am a martial arts instructor. I have been doing martial arts for 20 years at this point. It's been a huge part of my life. It really helps me focus on something that I need to do and get it done. I feel like I've got a really good opportunity within this first season to really prove to everyone that I'm not just an underdog and that I'm here to stay.
Legend has it that Frosty has never stopped doing martial arts to this second. Still punching, still kicking, still self-disciplined. A quick 2-0 and 4-0 this week in the Asia-Pacific region for Grandmasters that Frosty has had. If you want to catch that over there, he's playing Holy Wrath Paladin this week, by the way. It starts at 2 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Central European time. But we are anything but quick here. But legend has it, the game is still going on to this day. Orange versus Jarla. God, I got a lot of them in there. That's very rare. And we're moving on to tertiary and secondary decks. For Jarla, what that means is he's getting rid of some junk he doesn't need, and he's adding in Barista Lynchen, Harrison Jones, 2 C4 Bombers, Archivist Elysiana. So the fatigue offset there. For Orange, we're adding in a bit more damage here. He's getting a second Omega Assembly, 2 C4 Bombers, Cairn to keep pushing, and Grommash Hellscream for perhaps a big finish.
Yeah, two pretty different game plans in terms of the decks, the cards they're substituting in. For Jarla, we're seeing a little bit more of a fatigue-oriented game plan, with obviously the Barista Lynchen in combination with Geppetto Joybuzz and the Archivist Elysiana to try and get multiple activations of that now 9-cost minion. But I suppose the core of their tech is still very much the same, which is that more bombs is more good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You know, this is reminiscent of the Killin' All Day Bomb Warrior from the World Championships, where he had 2 Sephorian Bombers in the main. Like, just straight up, he's like, I'm playing all of them. And I liked it. I like Sephorian Bomber a lot. And for me, there's something I want to talk about here. Let's ignore the hands for a second and just think about overall perspective. The actual metagame, the game outside of the game. Jarla has built his main deck in a way that is meant to service against non-warrior decks.
I agree.
He has included Archivist Elysiana in his tertiary deck. I agree with that. But the statement that this says is Jarla goes, yeah, I'll probably lose game 1 to warrior. But if I play you in games 2 and game 3, I'm going to beat you.
And I think that that is well-founded confidence for Jarla, a very strong control player. I mean, to be fair, Jarla is the kind of player, as a lot of ladder players are, where they tend to play whatever is best at that point, and Specialist suits them very well. I remember during the vast majority of last year, Jarla played probably the most amount of games of Malagos Druid out of anyone I know. He played an absolutely staggering amount of games. It's all he played on ladder, hit top 25 at the end of season, pretty much every season with it, because it was the best deck in his opinion. Bomb Warrior here, I would be very unsurprised to hear if he thinks this is just the best deck at the moment. And so he will play it a lot, he will learn it, and he will get very, very, very good at it.
I have to say that I think in terms of control play, I have been most impressed with Jarla and with Psycho.
Yeah.
With Psycho, it's the ability to completely ignore the idea of inevitability, instead say, I'm going to keep pressuring you. And if you misstep in one of these spots, that's going to be enough for me to leverage a win. And for Jarla, it's been, you know what? I'm going to think about everything imaginable. And I'm going to find ways for my tools to absolutely neutralize any attack you can throw at me. And in game number 1, without having Archivist Elysiana, he had a chance in that game.
Yep.
And that's staggering for me to think about.
And what do you know, looking at Division B here in European Grandmasters, where the 2 players, Psycho and Casey, who are at the top of the division, are the 2 players who play Bomb Warrior super aggressively, curve out and kill their opponent.
Casey lost to Jarla last week.
He did. Well, he's still got a 3-1 record, right? He's still doing very well. He's at the top of the bracket, pretty much.
Jarla has brought some interesting decks as well. You know, his first week, it was just Control Warrior, straight up Control Warrior. With 2 Iron Beak Owls, 2 Baleful Banker. Of course, that was prior to the Archivist Elysiana change to 9 mana.
Substituting in a Deathwing in his secondary deck, I believe, as well.
Yeah, to fight off the fear of Nomi.
That was a cool deck. Didn't work out great for him.
It worked out pretty well.
It was all right.
It worked a solid 1-1. Yeah. He's had 1-1 so far.
That's respectable.
Yeah.
I would not say it's particularly great.
I wouldn't say it's particularly ungreat.
I would say it's exactly average. Actually, no, that's not true. I mean, like, when you're up against the best players in the entire world, going 2-2 is pretty respectable.
What about when you are one of the best players in the entire world?
It levels out. It's about average.
Yeah. Is this how data-driven casts work?
I wonder.
As we have been somewhat glossing over the first few turns of this game, but I guess
This is what happens.
well, I mean, there are some interesting talking points already, right? Just, it may seem obvious after having seen a bunch of Warrior Mirrors. Just the fact that double shield block has been played indicates that both players are very much willing to draw cards in this matchup.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's correct. It's just worth to highlight that it's not like the odd Warrior Mirrors of yore where you didn't draw a card.
I want to point out this particular turn, because this
Please
to
do.
me is an interesting one, where Jarla has clean kill with Dynamatic, sure, but look at how Sephorian Bomber interacts with the matchup in total. You know, think about exactly Dynamatic. If Orange wants a Dynamatic here, he has to trade off the Militia Commander,
Which is good.
or he has to hope he just nails a bunch of 50-50s in a row.
Which would be literally insane.
50, 25, 12.5, 6.25, 3.125, or something like that. It's very low chance.
It's extremely low chance. It would not happen.
And even if it paid off, oh, he gets to keep a 2-4.
Yeah.
Like, not a very good idea. Sephorian Bomber is specifically weak to Dynomatic. Very specifically weak to
Yes,
Dynomatic.
it
If it's
is.
a soul minion, it dies to
Usually.
it. You have to play this at the right time. And this was the perfect time for it. Great recognition from Jarla.
I like it a lot. And the next turn, we can see a multitude of more options for Jarla. We could see Elic Clockwork Goblin to turn up the pressure. We could see Coin Dr. Boom.
I imagine the Shield Slam play on turn 3 was a nod specifically to coin out Dr. Boom. When you both have Archivist Elysiana, when you both added bombs to the deck, and seeing the confidence that Jarla plays from, I firmly believe that Dr. Boom is going to be better used in his hands than it will be in Orange. I think Orange is a fantastic player. I think that the deck list from Orange, having additional damage from Grommash Hellscream, having additional board presence from Cairn, is going to demand more answers from Jarla. And honestly, watching the game #1, I know Orange won. I think Jarla played better.
I think I can agree with that. It was more, I would say Jarla had more opportunity to play creatively. Like he had a bigger ability to express his play style. I know that you disagreed with some of Orange's plays. I can totally see his reasoning for it. I agree that if he'd played more aggressively, he could have forced Jarla to dump cards from his hand, which, now that you mention it, I think might have been slightly better. But in Orange's position, I think last game was pretty close to 100% win with his line or with your line.
I think that Orange was afforded that luxury as well.
Yes.
You know, I think Hearthstone's a grading scale. I don't think there's just right and wrong things unless you're talking about specifically zoomed in micro plays.
Yeah.
I give Orange a B- last game.
B-.
Still a pretty good grade.
Interesting.
It's above average.
What does that go down to in America? Is E a grade you can get, or is it go D and then
A, B, C, D, and then just go straight to F?
Okay.
That's not bad. They don't want you to be able to interpret E for excellent. Did Jarla just hit the Cairn 5 times with Dinomatic? He just hit the Cairn 5 times with Dinomatic. 50%, 25%, 12.5%, 6.25, and then whatever half of that is.
Did he?
Well, the militia commander was still a 2-4.
Did he rush in? No.
No, he just hit the Cairn 5 times. Did you see Orange's reaction?
Wow.
Huh. The
What do you
Cairn
know?
is supposed to take advantage of Dinomatic situations.
That's pretty miserable for Orange. Huh. After I said that hitting one target 5 times does not happen.
Interesting. So Orange is interested in getting chip damage from the Grommash, as well as putting Jarla to the test of having removal spell. He saw the early shield slam.
Well, he's playing it before Omega Devastator, right, is his consideration.
Yeah.
You don't want to play big minions post turn 10 against Warrior.
And if you look at his next turn, Orange wants to draw cards. He wants to Acolyte, Warpath, smash even more. This is great.
I like it a lot.
This would be a good.
This is Orange definitely pushing it at his advantage. Because again, we should reiterate in this instance, Jarla's deck usually tends to be better in Fatigue. Because he does not have the guaranteed ability to shuffle Elysiana or to play Elysiana multiple times. But with Geppetto Joybuzz and Barista Lynchen, he has a pretty good chance of being able to.
Okay, then.
I think Jarla genuinely needs to consider double Militia Commander this turn. I do not want Grom to hit me for 1,000,000 damage.
And this play from Orange, while it was removed, which is not ideal, taking 2 cards effectively in order to do so is a pretty fantastic exchange for Orange.
And Cairn keeps cracking away.
Whoa, this card draw for Orange is now very spicy, especially taking into account that Jarla now has no Acolyte of Pains in his deck at all, whereas Orange has 2. Next turn, we could see dumping of the cards this turn, and then next turn, double Acolyte, double Warpath.
You know, that's actually really interesting that Jarla cut the lone Acolyte.
Which I don't know if I agree with.
It's interesting because he keeps the Super Collider around.
No, he doesn't. He cuts that as well.
Does he cut that as well? Oh, he does. What the heck? What was I looking at?
Something else,
I don't.
apparently.
Why the Acolyte, I wonder? I don't know. It's just really interesting to me.
Yeah, I like Acolyte a lot in most versions
Whoa.
of Warrior.
Hang on. Acolyte's a lot like Northshire Cleric. We're going full Acolyte. It can often yield some deadly consequences.
Really? I mean, you can draw maximum 6 cards. He goes down to 4 cards in hand. Even if it's the absolute highest amount of draw from Jarla, I think he can only overdraw 1. Which I think is fine. Because if
So he's telling Jarla, if you want to try to make me overdraw cards, you're welcome to attempt that.
Yeah. Right, because if he wants to overdraw him for
look at that
1 card, he has to draw him 4 cards. And now with playing the Town Crier that doesn't even draw anything, he cannot overdraw.
Very nice.
Yeah, it works out nicely indeed. And the thing is for Jarla, even if he could overdraw a card here, he would probably opt not to because he doesn't want to give Orange that much fuel and get him that much closer to Dr. Boom.
I think we're going up here.
What do you mean? What's the term?
Geppetto Joybuzz comes in on the balloons. I'm just saying that house is probably the reason there's a helium shortage globally.
For a master plan.
You know how much helium it would take to lift a house?
Yeah, ridiculous. God, that film is just rife with scientific inaccuracies. Why has no one brought this up before?
I think it's technically accurate, and I'm actually paying heed to the fact that it is accurate. Where think about how much helium it would take.
What are you talking about?
Think about how much helium it would take to lift a house. That's why there would be a global helium shortage.
You think a fireplace grate with like 1 billion balloons attached could support a house?
No, they can't represent that in a single image. It's a metaphor. What I'm saying is,
of course it's a metaphor. That's the point of the movie. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is if you use that much helium, it would probably create a shortage, which there currently is one. It's a lot of helium.
I'm actually a little bit upset. This is I've done it! The stupidest conversation we've ever had. As Orange here is still very much keeping up with the draw everything you possibly can game plan. And I've
2 bombs gone now as well.
Which is 2/3 of them, because he has the Sephorian Bomber and the double shuffle with Elic and Clockwork Goblin.
It cuts into the Blastmaster Boom. You know, I was looking at Jarla. When is the Geppetto happening to generate that big turn? Jarla respects the security rover.
He's a good lad.
It's just a good card sometimes.
What if it had 1 extra health?
It's about the exact same thing.
How dare you? That's a whole nother security bot. Is that what those things are called?
If the damage is dealt 1 at a time, yeah.
Yeah. All right, what this Geppetto Joybuzz draws could massively change the texture of this game. And Elysiana.
Yep.
So now for Jarla, the game plan is not necessarily set out, but what this means is that Fatigue could very easily be on his side.
It's massively favored towards Jarla at that point.
Right.
So now the question is, how does he fend off the pressure? Because Orange is launching a very different assault than last game.
And he is going in. Orange is playing his biggest minion every turn, and he is hitting face with that minion every turn.
Jarla has removed 1 of the Brawls and 1 of the Warpaths from the deck. And Orange says, you know what? You have your 6/6. It doesn't actually hit my minions right now.
Yeah.
So this is a chance for Jarla to capitalize.
Okay, then.
I really like saving Omega Devastators for the key moment.
I mean,
but sometimes there's just too much stuff.
Are you really going to face anything bigger than a Doom Reaver this game?
I think it's the momentum the card creates.
I mean, it's some pretty sweet momentum. He can completely sweep the board back into his favor
and I
with
think,
3 value trades.
And I think that the ability to have absolute inevitability with Fatigue means that he doesn't necessarily need to swing the momentum offensively.
Okay.
I think that if he did not have the ability to do that, he would really be considering saving these as much as he can. Because he's got that, though, I think it means he uses both.
Wait, didn't you just contradict yourself?
No. If he did not have the ability to go to Mega Fatigue, I think that he would consider saving 1. I think when he has the inevitability to go to Fatigue, you definitely consider using both.
But surely if he didn't have the inevitability to go to Fatigue, he would want to play his minions much more aggressively and try and close out the game quickly.
The thing is, they're both even in the Fatigue race if he doesn't have the Elysiana discounted or the Barista Lynchon discounted, correct?
Yes.
And so because of that, he needs to have bigger momentum swings. I think in this position, he's free to make Orange just waste stuff to handle board.
Okay.
because when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, he has the final card. When you don't have that final card, I think you need better turns.
I mean, I agree with his play. I just wanted to understand your reasoning as to why. I think my thinking here is primarily he's massively ahead on board now, which Orange has to answer or he'll just die. Secondarily, he has double Omega Assembly in hand, which he wants to play, so dumping cards is good. And I mean, you just play your big stuff. It's, you know, we can argue about whether or not it's a tempo matchup or a control matchup. It's a bit reductive to frame it purely as a one-word matchup. But quite clearly in Hearthstone, playing cards is generally just good. As Orange here, he does not have Dr. Boom Mad Genius, but he does have, I was going to say his brother, I guess it's his clone, of Blastmaster Boom, to be able to throw it down and go aggressive in the next couple of turns.
Is Blastmaster Boom a clone, or is it like
it's the same
Is
character.
it like the Iron Man suit? It's like
yeah,
there's
wearing
Tony
a suit.
Stark, which is Dr. Boom, and then there's Iron Man, which is Blastmaster.
Yes,
Okay.
I think they're the same person, or same goblin. He's just wearing a mask. Because in the trailer, it like pops up.
Yeah.
Or who knows, maybe there's a Hearthstone multiverse that we're not aware of.
Oh, Jarla's turns are just so good.
They are very powerful. This one-mana Dynamatic is pretty absurd, actually.
I think that for Jarla, he's looking specifically at pushing damage at this effect.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that seems fine, right?
Oh boy!
Yeah.
The unpowered whatever can attack. The turn you get it from Omega Assembly too.
Underpowered Mauler is a much more fitting name, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
Underpowered Mauler.
I actually always call them underpowered Steambot and stuff too. It's accurate.
It is indeed, but for Jarla, it's perfectly good enough here. He is threatening lethal on the following turn. He also has way more value. He has the fatigue game plan. He is so far ahead in this game. So what can Orange do to swing things back in his favor?
Find a Ziliak's turn that matters.
All right.
Biggest 4-mana thing. Vicious Scrap
That's a lot
Hound.
of heal. That is a lot of heal. He could even throw down a Shield Slam on the same turn then, because it would gain him armor.
That's right. That's a major deal.
It's no Devastator, which is clearly what he was looking for, but that is a very good second place.
Oh, he's missing 1 armor, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he's missing literally 1 armor to be able to clear both and Shield Slam, unless he wants to tank damage by attacking first.
Wait. No, he can. Oh no, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
That Geppetto's gonna live, or the Omega Devastator's gonna live, unless he wants to tank the damage.
Then the Shield Slam isn't even good, right?
So you go to 6. I mean, this is plenty right here. I think you gotta secure the board back again. This is the way to do it.
Yeah. Oh man, this just so almost worked out for Orange. It's not quite there.
And now Orange, his hand's just clunky. He's missing ways to fight back.
Bombs being drawn for Jarla is not even particularly good for Orange either. All right, is there any way for Jarla to punch through this without activating the heal?
It's 4 Warpass.
That does not activate the Scrap Hound either, does it? Because it's when it deals damage.
When it deals damage.
It takes damage, yeah. Okay.
Okay, then.
I guess
So
3 Warpass,
hero power,
and the underpowered Mauler.
I guess.
I want to get it out of my hand.
He's already seen a Ziliax, so playing minions is less likely to be bad for him. Because obviously the Lifesteal Rush would be able to heal instantly.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Didn't he just say that?
Oh, I love that.
It's all starting to blur together a little bit at this point. I like this. I think the 10 heal that it would afford Orange is getting you too close to an even game. You want to keep this as unfair as possible when you're Jarla. And I wonder if Orange ever tries to get to the point with his game plan where he's at 10 cards in hand, I just don't think that ever wins him the game.
I think it's really tough.
Like, it's more likely he just has to hope that all the bombs are at the bottom of his deck, and then he can unleash Jarla to replace his deck of bombs with a fresh set of 10 cards.
I'm worried for Orange that he's just not getting enough board presence this turn, and that Jarla is going to continue to maintain the initiative.
I mean, that's what playing against Dr. Boom is like, right? You just lose board every time.
I mean, this is partially because of the bomb draws from Jarla's side too. Like, you know, Blastmaster Boom oftentimes is such an easy play.
Yeah.
If there's a bunch of a bunch of bombs on the other side, so like I think he has to, you know, potentially consider that right now even.
Does he have 3 bombs in the deck though?
Well, Clockwork Goblin plus Blastmaster Boom, I believe, makes 4 boom bots.
You think there's only 1 bomb in the deck at the moment?
Nah, you got to yell at me. I didn't do the tick marks.
Ah!
I thought I could do it mentally. I really did.
I think he's got more.
Maybe he does. He does have 3 of them.
Oh, I didn't know he said that when you play him against Dr. Boom. He said, "Who's that handsome devil?"
Arrogant as usual.
I mean, it's not wrong. Look at that. Look at that mug.
Security Rover is so good versus boombots.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So what is Jarla's best response to... I mean, obviously, there's Brawl. He could just throw that down to deal with this entire board of minions. And even if the Blastmaster Boom survives, Hero Power Shield Slam.
Hero Power Shield Slam, Security Rover trade.
You think that's better? Save the Brawl? He does lose 1 copy of Brawl, so this is the only Brawl in his deck for his tertiary.
I think it's less about the Brawl being effective and more about the Security Rover being effective, specifically in this scenario.
Okay.
And 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 9 mana remaining. So it's that, the Shield Slam, Security Rover. Maybe you trade the Unpowered Mauler first. I'm actually not sure here. This is interesting to watch. Yeah, get rid of that thing. Wow, it kills them. Wow. Hey, you know what? Jarla didn't take any damage.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well for Orange. Well, I mean, he doesn't take any damage yet.
You didn't take 19 from it or whatever like you did in the previous game.
Okay. A pretty big difference, I'll give you that.
Security Rover's just annoying. Just a big nuisance.
It's really annoying. Give it a rush. So I guess if he gets something decently sized here, like that, perfectly reasonable, he can start to plug through this Security Rover.
Well, maybe I spoke too soon.
Almost. Jarla is almost down to starting health. But this board from Orange is a little bit of a...
Yeah, this is a pickle.
I don't know if I'd call it a concern, but a nuisance for Jarla, I suppose, is more appropriate.
I'm a bit concerned, actually. I think rustling this back when you don't have big removal spells. I mean, think about the Omega Devastators. Back to that position.
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess this is a little bit scary, actually. The missile launcher being able to magnetize onto the Boom Reaver as well is pretty good.
Jarla, you know, obviously he's going to consider what magnetize looks like, but I think the bigger concern is just this 7/9 sticks and it hits you.
Right, because if he brawls and loses, by which I mean 7/9 sticks,
That's
scary. Yeah, that is scary. He has no... I mean, if he goes for Hero Power and hits Omega Devastator, this becomes a lot more clean.
You have a good chance to hit Omega Devastator, but if you don't hit Omega Devastator, then it's not dying this turn, really.
Boom Reaver's just not good on this turn.
You kill 7. I'm telling you, 7/9s are scary, and every single time I've seen Boom Reaver attack somebody, it typically keeps attacking them.
This is not an especially powerful play for Jarla,
Yeah.
showing some signs of weakness here, which Orange might be able to exploit and go for the throat.
That's something, the biggest consideration I was just about to say. I think Orange can interpret this as a sign of weakness because Jarla forewent the Hero Power button.
The best Hero Power button,
Right,
arguably.
it's now a very polarized position from Jarla. His hand is either incredibly good or it's incredibly bad. And it's bad.
It's slow. Like, it's very, very good for the fatigue state, but in terms of removal immediately, it's pretty weak. So are we going to see missile launch this turn? Missile launch wrench caliber is pretty interesting. Because if your opponent wants to Harrison your weapon, you already have a bunch of stats in play, which makes it a much less tempting opportunity.
I think the big consideration here for Orange is how much is too much. So perhaps you play just your weaker tools first, and I think this is a good like middle way point where like you're threatening the additional bomb shovels now. You have 2 C4 bombers and the Clockwork Goblin, so you can really compound that issue quickly. This is enough pressure to keep Jarla on a back foot position.
Okay.
And you're not going to get blown out by a Brawl here by committing too much.
Well, it was less weak to Brawl if you went with the missile launcher, right? Because you could have magnetized it on, and then there's only 2 big minions.
I think the consideration is exactly surprise damage.
Okay. I'm not convinced.
I'm not convinced either. I'm not convinced of basically anything that's happened in this game.
It's very interesting.
Coin Blastmaster Boom.
I liked that a lot. And like you say, the grading scale of Hearthstone.
Oh, his Sephorian Bomber play on 5.
You like that a lot?
Yeah, that was good.
I liked his coin Dr. Boom this game as well.
Oh, I liked Orange's Grom, the Tempo Grom.
Yes. Well, I mean, I like plays. Whether or not I'm certain they were correct.
I'm convinced of those plays.
Oh, okay.
Put it that way.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Wow, good enough to get the Brawl.
And he doesn't even want a hero power first.
No, he wants to Harrison, I think.
Okay.
Perhaps I'm wrong. The clear is too appealing.
I guess if he went hero power and one of the opposing minions survived, it was really, really bad. Whereas this way he can still clear up.
He left the underpowered Mauler up instead of... Uh-oh. Whoa. Ooh. Oh, that was scary. Honestly,
that was very scary.
It's still pretty scary.
It's super scary. Look at this. Orange is so close to dying. This is very similar to the situation that Jarla was in last game. Orange is not winning in fatigue.
I wonder.
But he has now found himself Dr. Boom, which maybe gets him enough health to wrestle back into the game. Like, Jarla has a lot of bombs in his deck, and he's only at 21 health. That's not that much.
Yeah, I'm thinking for Orange here, there's the 2 things I'm looking at are the immediate luck factor of hitting a laser from Blastmaster Boom and having a 3-bomb lethal breakpoint. The other one is getting lucky and hitting 7 armor, and the other one is getting lucky and hitting a mech, which has high impact for next turn.
I think the Blast Shield is pretty far and away the best one you could get. Maybe discovering the mech. I think the Zap face was a little bit optimistic. The chance of Jarla drawing 3 bombs in a row is very high.
Hey, if that's your out, that's your out.
Yeah, I guess so.
Uh-oh.
Don't do this.
I mean, he could draw more than 3 in a row. Cool. He does not, though.
Oh, that's a big old draw, though. Being able to magnetize the Ziliax on this.
He can't attack. There's no spell.
Does he have no spells in his hand?
No spells. This is why I was curious about last turn, him leaving the security rover, I'm sorry, the underpowered Mauler in play, rather than the 1/1s.
Well, either way, we're seeing the Elysiana coming down. Is it even the pick, though? It's slow. A 9 mana 7/7 is slow. Man, these cards are nuts. Is it ever Weapons Project just for heal?
I think Bulldozer heals better. It just attacks things.
Arguable, yep. This is a tough choice, though. I can very much see the argument for Weapons Project.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Menace, yeah. So we'll get a look at that in a second. And since Jarla has more Archivists in deck, what on earth would be the point of baristing this one back? Menace Bulldozer, yeah.
Whoa, those are Mega Defenders as well, are crazy good.
Yeah, that's a very good pull.
A lot of heal, a lot of defense here, and an awful lot of aggression for Jarla. Even though that Elysiana is just a 1/1.
And Jarla replaced a lot of bombs during that process, too.
He did, yeah, that's very... he replaced a lot of bombs, actually. At least 2, I think. Pretty sure.
Okay,
Orange does obviously have the follow-up shuffle afterwards.
He's got to have time, though. I mean, this is where Jarla wants to put the pedal to the metal and keep Orange from having that time.
Jarla didn't even have to play Barista Lynchen because he got more Elysianas. That's crazy.
Save the best for last. Somebody order a bomb.
First bomb in the deck.
And Jarla's actually kind of coming down to a low health total. This is so much closer than I thought it would be.
He can't die this turn, though. And he has
There are no
Ziliax.
bombs.
That's
Sorry,
a blown bomb.
The one of bomb in his deck. The Ziliax here, though, is absolutely massive.
Can he ever play the deranged Doctor this turn? I guess you risk dying to a bomb.
Gotta throw down the Ziliax, right?
I imagine so. What's the best way to use it, though?
This would be a
hits
good
nothing.
time for a master plan.
Just a 1-1 at the moment.
All your other stuff is rush anyway.
Yeah.
The one attack is not a very strong break point. Yeah, he probably just Ziliax this one.
Does he ever not magnetize it on?
I'm curious if you ever go face.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I don't think you do. Wow.
I mean, this does allow him the maximum amount of development onto the board whilst also clearing everything off.
Just wants the most things. Oh, he's recognizing the bomb density from Orange's deck too, saying that the extra pressure
Means that if he wants to Elysiana, he's got to take a lot of damage. Which means Orange kind of has to spend another turn taking a potential bomb damage. Unless he wants to tank all this damage. Like, surely it has to be Missile Launcher and Mega Devastator this turn.
Well, staring at 3/1/1s and no way in hand to efficiently
Does it,
answer
though?
back on 3/1/1s, like, I like the Missile Launcher play.
But he misses the hero power then. It's such a good one.
That's the thing.
He could just go Devastator, kill off the Harrison, and then trade in hero power.
There's a good lesson for you. When do you get aggressive? When your opponent is on low life total and they have 7 armor coming up. Make them have to clear everything. Maybe they don't get to get tank gain 7 armor.
We saw that from Orange as well when he went all in on the Boom Reaver turn when there was the Discoverer mech from Jarla. Very well positioned to play from both players here. As
Wow,
both
he
players
really does not want Jarla to have extra health.
foregoing the hero power, sticking a very large mech into
Why
play.
would you not magnetic that onto the 4/5 and do this? Don't you just end up with a bigger minion that way?
Yes. It's weaker to execute if exactly that was discovered, but even then the hero power can just trade it in.
Okay, that's worth a nod.
It's just wrong, right? Surely.
Oh, no, Jarla's discovered from Elysiana. I think he very easily can have execute. He's got the same amount of health, just has more front end.
Okay.
I think execute is exactly what he's thinking about, actually.
Okay, whatever. Moving on.
Weird.
That was weird. That was weird. I've not played it that way. Orange now very almost out of cards. And that bomb being found means that Elysiana Shield Slam only does 3.
Yep.
He has to forego it again.
He's going to have to Elysiana next turn, which means he has to get board developed here, and he knows that that's not going to be easy.
I mean, well, you say has to. He could just go double C4 Bomber this turn and pray for a miracle out. If he thinks he's in that bad of a spot, I think that's wrong. But it's something he can consider.
And look at this 1-cost Dynamatic here.
So that last card in his deck is not a bomb, or he's just conceding the game here.
Ooh.
What? Dynamatic clears the board.
Light the fuses!
Deranged Doctor can then maybe heal up. Jarla is at 1 health if Orange were to hero power.
But Orange is facing down lethal.
I'm out of cards!
So, I mean, Orange has 1 play. C4 Bomber, go ahead. He has no other way to be in this.
That's it. Shield block, obviously not good.
I mean, they're all obviously not good. None of them do anything. You're just dead if you do any of your other plays.
Elysiana, nothing you discover can end up in your hand on this turn.
I got a bomb for you.
Wow. That was one of the most tense draws that I've just stared at in a long time, where I was like, what can I do?
1 health! Jarla won that game at 1 health. There has to have been some way that Orange missed a damage over that game. A game that goes all the way through to fatigue. There's no way that he got every single possible point of damage through to face over the course of that game.
The big thing I'm looking at is you had mentioned the Elysiana way earlier at some point in that game. Like, there was like 7 to 10 cards left in Orange's deck, and you were talking about Elysiana right there.
Right.
And I wonder if that's actually the right play. It's so hard to make the call because he doesn't have a ton of bombs in deck. He knows he's going to need to extend the duration of the game. I guess the question is, can he extend the duration of the game?
It's such a difficult question because, first of all, at that point, I don't believe he knew that Jarla had the ability to play Elysiana multiple times. So maybe he's thinking, right, yeah, because he did not know what was drawn off the Geppetto Joy Buzz. So maybe he's thinking, I can take it into the fatigue state and win there if Jarla didn't get lucky. And also, if he does play the Elysiana at that point, Jarla then has the full go-ahead to shuffle as many bombs as he wants into Orange's deck because he has no ability to replace the deck with an Elysiana.
Tough game. Very interesting game, very weird game. And we got one more of those. We got one more. We're going to a break. When we come back, Game 3 of our match of the day, the Bomb Warrior Mirror match, is coming up.
So you're probably wondering why I gathered you here. Let me take a moment and break it down. We've been given black eyes by the good guys. Oh, but that's about to change. Those meddlesome mortals who've mucked up our missions will finally feel some of our pain. You see, I have a devious plan that requires a demonstrative fist, and each of you will have your dreams come true as a finger's finger of bliss. What? All right, let me try this again. Alone, all our dreams went. Kaboom! Yes, but united we'll take the candle. No fifth figure.
I'm seeing what you want to do.
Let me hit it.
We'll come together so we can dismantle.
Now here's the plot to capture your greed and intrigue. We'll take Galaran for all that it's got. As we form an evil league.
I'm Mazahidul Islam. I go by Muzzy in game. My username, as you know, my first name is Mazahidul. It's kind of difficult to say for some people, and every time someone calls you, you know, they're gonna have to say, "Hey, Mazahidul." You know, that's long, and you don't want to say that. My friend gave me a nickname, you know, like, "Hey Muzz, hey Muzzy." So I sort of just took that, and you know, name's Muzzy. I took a look at the list of players. Some of them have been more focused on streaming, I would say, in these past few years. I've participated at the highest levels of competition that they might not have appeared in. I'm the player to beat in my group, for sure. The thing that I most look forward to about competing in Grandmasters is the thrill of the competition. It's really why I play Hearthstone. It's what I've enjoyed doing for the past 3-4 years, and it's what I'll continue to enjoy doing, hopefully. I think Hearthstone Instinct is definitely my my greatest skill set. I think that if I took a break for a while and didn't play the game and came back to new cards, I think I could pilot a new deck fairly well, fairly quickly. People would always mention the term burnout to me. Burnout, burnout, burnout. I didn't know what it was. I would constantly play Hearthstone all the time. I definitely want to have more titles and put my name in Hearthstone history.
My name is Brian Eason, also known as Bloodyface. When I first started playing Hearthstone, the first deck that I crafted was Miracle Rogue, and it was pretty much the only deck I played. I love combo style decks. I don't like really being aggressive per se, but I like having a deck that has a very aggressive finish. I think my X factor, maybe my defining characteristic, is that I think about everything. I mean, you could say that's like a characteristic of overthinking, but I think it's important to overthink because you're playing against like the best minds. And it's important to be understanding that everyone else is also capable of doing that. So you need to be able to outthink everybody. From a competitive standpoint, I want to improve as a player. Against Hunter Ace, I think I made a pretty big mistake. I really care about just making sure that whenever I play Hearthstone, it's my best Hearthstone. Initially, when I found out about Grandmasters, I kind of felt like it was just like kind of another league. But it wasn't until I was actually standing next to the other Grandmasters at Worlds that it made me feel like kind of emotional. We just had such a high concentration of like pure talent to actually hit that level and rub shoulders alongside them. It means a lot to me. Playing at the highest level is super interesting because people do unpredictable things. So I look forward to the mind games.
Bloodyface and Muzzy are going to be competing in the Americas region for Hearthstone Grandmasters as your match of the day there, which comes up right after we're done with Europe. So make sure you stick around for that as well, if you got the time. You may be a little bit short on time after this match because we are going to Game 3 of our Bomb Warrior Mirror match, of our match of the day between Orange and Jarla. And they're sticking on the same decks, Derek.
They are. It makes a lot of sense. There is not really all too much mind games I think you can play in this matchup, given that they are both tertiary decks, very much targeting the Warrior Mirror, obviously with more bombs shuffled in there, a bit more fatigue. Harrison Jones for Jarla, another Omega Assembly for Orange. It's pretty simple. It's really just how they're going to be playing it that will really affect how this final game in our match of the day will go.
Yep, and that means we're getting underway right now. The players are ready and they are set, which means that we're going to very slowly go.
Yeah, you say that. Orange's hand looking pretty good. Obviously, the Dr. Boom is a fantastic addition to any hand in the Bomb Warrior Mirror.
So far, we've seen a player draw it and then the other one draw it after, like quite later.
Yes, Orange got it quite a lot later than Jarla did in the first game. But, I mean, to be fair to Orange, I think that's actually something to bring up, is that Orange got himself into a situation where he was as close to lethal as you can be without getting there, basically without Dr. Boom for the entire game, which is an incredibly impressive feat. That just doesn't happen generally.
Maybe not for you.
Well, there's no need to be rude.
I don't think I'm being rude. I think I'm just stating the facts here.
I mean, you're not wrong. That does not happen for me.
That's mostly because you don't play Warrior.
That's also true. I do not have much fun playing Warrior. Had a lot of fun playing Mage last night after the ladder reset. I was dunking on everyone.
I just picture you actually slam dunking instead. Like you're just playing basketball versus just like people, and like you're playing Hearthstone while you're playing basketball, and every time you make a good play, you also slam dunk the basketball.
I do not think I could slam dunk. How high are basketball nets?
About 10 feet.
10 feet? That's insane.
We're sorry, I apologize for the spectator issue here. We'll get it fixed as quickly as possible. Thankfully, we have a handy dandy pause feature that's in there. I'm going to go off on that basketball thing. Fun fact.
Please do.
Derek beat me in a foot race. Not while I was on foot. I was on a scooter. Derek is really fast.
I'm pretty quick. I got long legs. I don't know if I can show them on broadcast without tearing out my cable, but I'm quick.
I was shocked. I was like, that's the fastest British Hearthstone caster I've ever seen.
That's how I outrun my emotions. They haven't caught up to me yet.
No comment.
All right, as we are back into the game, as you said, pretty standard starting few plays both players here. It's really just leading up to, well, actually, I was going to say leading up to Coin Dr. Boom for Orange. It's not quite as simple as that, and he does have a lot of other good plays along the way. Ken Bloodhoof on its own could be really quite good for him.
It's a nice bounce back and forth here for Orange as well. If you're Harrison's, he lands the Dynamatic.
Yep, nice easy play. C4 in Bomber was never really a consideration on turn 5, like you said, with the Dynamatic available to come down.
Yeah, the timing of Seaphorian Bomber is actually, I think it's pretty tricky in these matchups. Once you start to see Dynamatic, it becomes much better. You know, obviously you'd love for your opponent to have to answer Seaphorian Bomber with a Militia Commander than with a Dynamatic. That's like, this is pretty much the hideous instance and why I think Orange was so ready to go ahead and play the weapon just to kill the 1-2 in that spot.
Yeah.
So now for Jarla, I'm looking at the Militia Commander, and I'm thinking to myself, this is very good at answering the front half of Cairn. But that does that immediately, where Seaphorian Bomber creates the board tension. And if Orange doesn't answer this back, and instead, you know, plays Cairn or something,
yeah,
you get to get a payoff for it.
I think I like this. It's weak to exactly second Omega Devastator. Which
Dynamatic.
is, oh, sorry, yes,
Yeah.
sorry, second Dynamatic, which is a pretty big punish, to be fair. You're quite far behind on board. But against Cairn, it's good, because you get to value trade. Against Dr. Boom with a coin, it's good, because you have a 5-5 in play, and a turn they can't remove it.
Yeah.
You can value trade, and you're ahead on board.
Or you just get to punch him in the head and use a Militia Commander.
You were saying?
Yeah.
The fact of Seaphorian Bomber being difficult to play, I think he's found a very opportune moment for it.
Yeah, Orange's turn's tough.
Yeah, does he ever go Ziliax just because it gets him such a nice, clean trade, and it sets up a big minion into Jarla's potential Dr. Boom turn?
Again, I'm still looking at, you know, the potential to just hit Jarla in the face. Like, how did you shred 6 armor? How does he cleanly kill that?
With Ziliax and then hit face.
Yeah. The thing about it is Ziliax is such an important tool.
It's really good late game.
I'm looking more at just a Militia Commander. You don't like to do it. You get to sneak in 2 armor, which isn't irrelevant. I think armor in this matchup is very important. Orange just says, you know what? This is still a tough tool to deal with. I'm going to hit him in the face anyway. Just make him start dealing with it. Your opponent does have to spend a lot of resources to eliminate this while you just continue to hit face. Like, Cairn is great at generating value. Cairn is also very good at just hitting face over and over again.
Jarla has pretty good answers to it, though, right? He can value trade with Militia Commander and the Seaphorian Bomber. That obviously leaves minions weak to the Dynamatic in play, just attacking into them. But I don't know. I feel like the upside of Cairn, like the potential for how good Cairn can be, is quite high. Whereas the potential for how good a Militia Commander can be is relatively low in comparison.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is just mana expenditure. Like, with 2 Omega Assemblies, you want to just start dumping, I think.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with this hand from Orange.
There really is.
I think the more I'm looking at the Cairn, the more I like it, just because it occupies a lot of time from Jarla's side.
And I guess, you know, trade Dynamatic does not work well for Jarla. Dr. Boom would be difficult to play on this turn, then you're taking the 4.
It's like specifically Militia Commander and Shield Slam. And so Jarla's going to take that opportunity to say, you know what? More board tension it is.
You see, this is consistently a weak aspect of my Hearthstone play, is I am too focused on removing minions as quick as I can, which is far from always the correct play. Against aggressive decks, you want to do it so you stop taking damage too early on. But here, you know, Jarla doesn't have to kill off the Cairn straight away. If he just develops the board here, it's still a 5-5, which value trades beautifully against this Cairn on board.
It's also a pretty tough turn for Orange now, where it's, you know, to the same effect where the trade Dynamatic was not a good play for Jarla last turn. It's not a good play for Orange this turn. Militia Commander doesn't answer this very efficiently. There's like almost nothing in the deck that just deals 2 damage. Yeah. These are just some good... This is some good classic Hearthstone play right now.
Very classic Hearthstone play. Figuring out trades and how they work out well for you. Which is what Cairn pretty much always introduces to the game.
And Orange was very interested in securing an Acolyte of Pain to threaten draw. So now Dynamatic very weak against that. Jarla interested in using multiple cards to open up space for Geppetto as well.
So on this turn,
What now?
Militia Commander Wrench Caliber looks like a pretty reasonable way to clear up the whole board. He doesn't really have too much ability to develop his own stats outside of clearing. So I think, yeah, this is a perfectly reasonable way to go.
Jarla does not want to see that right now. Oh boy.
Orange finding both the Dr. Booms there is pretty bad news for Jarla, to be perfectly honest, when he has neither. Both of which are super impactful in this matchup. I mean, we saw from Orange in game 1, he had both at the start of the game, but Blastmaster Boom was really the MVP in that matchup. It just got Jarla down to like 10 health from turn 8.
Yeah, this is definitely a different game though, where both players are really struggling, I think, to take a lead. So I feel like Orange taking time here is going to be better. The other thing too is that Blastmaster Boom just lines up really poorly against Dynamatic in that spot.
Yes.
Oh boy. Now, Jarla's on the other hand, it lines up pretty well.
So he has 2 bombs in the deck currently, I believe, with the 1 swing of the Wrench Caliber and the 2 Sephorian bombers. 1 has been drawn.
Yeah. So he could make the full, he could make 5 boom butts. Which I, with 100% certainty, imagine he's doing this turn.
I'm never 100% certain about anything. I'm not even 100% certain that's true. Maybe I am. But I can agree this is a pretty good way of going about it.
It's an interesting juxtaposition. I'm not really sure about anything, but I'm also pretty sure that I'm not sure.
Or am I? Maybe I am sure.
It's Schrodinger's certainty.
This would be a good time for a master
Both
plan.
are not certain.
Yeah, as long as you don't look at it too closely, it makes sense. But staggeringly, despite how much removal is jam-packed into this warrior deck, Orange has nothing. How does he have no answer to, like, any of this? Does he play his own Blastmaster then? That only gets, like, 1 set of boom boards? Or doesn't even get any?
Well, step 1 is press the button, I think.
Okay.
Unless you're going to go for a big shuffle turn with Elec, in which case you wouldn't press the button.
Dude, this Blastmaster is insane.
Whoa.
He has to go for the turn 9 Devastator.
So his plan here is to say, I have to offset boombots accordingly. And the way to do that is by having the biggest minion in play. And Jarla gets to connect as well.
These turns are crazy from these players. I mean, even without the Devastator, he had Shield Block, Shield Slam to be able to clear it off.
What does this tell Jarla about Orange's hand, I wonder? So I'm not certain that Orange would have brawled in that situation. Mostly because of the heat of boombot damage. Like, the play specifically here is to avoid boombots connecting against you in a very serious way.
But if Jarla now knows that Orange had, that Orange had Omega Devastator and Ziliax in hand because he just played them. So if he had a Brawl as well, surely he would take the damage and then heal back up afterwards using this combo of cards.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking as well.
I think if Orange had the Brawl, I think Jarla can make the pretty strong read that there's no Brawl.
Oh boy.
Ooh. I mean, for the moment, I think you just turn up the pressure with either...
Oh, I definitely agree.
Ziliax Shield Slam or just Omega Devastator.
I like the Devastator because you're going to be using the Blast... You're going to be using Dr. Boom next turn. And that means you can't use the Devastator. This keeps
the Shield Slam.
This keeps some pressure around for when Orange, you know, in theory, inevitably clears.
Very good.
You know, we're looking at a Kaboom on board. And then it opens up the Shield Slam as well.
And all these aggressive cards for Orange, they're really just not finding their mark at the moment.
And I look back at that Ziliax play and I go, ooh. And so for Orange here, it's basically the same deal. It's like you want minions to really take the brunt of this damage.
Absolutely.
You do not want it to hit your face a million
Okay,
times.
100%. And even then, the Grommash has a reasonable chance of surviving to be able to attack into the...
Attack the 4/5.
Oh, okay, you can.
And then use the hero power. 6 damage absorbed by the minion and 7 damage absorbed by Orange's face. That's the best he's going to get out of that, I think.
Pretty reasonable. I think that was a good approach as well. Just clear the board, reset things, don't take too much damage.
It kind of gives you a perspective on the Grom as well. You know, like maybe Grom is actually like a specific nod to it when your opponent Blastmasters. Sometimes you literally get to either Warpath or Kaboom it with a Grom in play.
I think you might actually be right.
It's like actually such a major swing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the reason. I think it's part of the reason.
I think that's actually a consideration.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Pretty clean, yeah.
So for Orange now, I imagine you're very interested in answering back with your own Blastmaster Boom. However, you could just be very interested in loading a bunch of bombs. You have coin.
I don't think he has enough bombs in the deck to go for the Blastmaster Boom yet, but after he shuffles 2 or 4 bombs into his opponent's deck, he absolutely will be able to. Even as the follow-up afterwards with double assembly.
Not only that, but now the downside of C4 Bomber, that it's vulnerable to Dynamatic, is actually an upside because you have 2 minions in play that Dynamatic hits. So the Dynamatics don't directly clear.
Lovely play.
And for Jarla, he has the direct upside of this play happening in that Warpath is now a good card, where it's usually pretty bad in this matchup.
So is that what we see here? 4 Warpaths and a hero power?
That's
Okay, then.
exactly what I imagine. It's going to be tough for him to cook up something better than that, I think.
Or hero power, Dynamatic? Because it has rush as well, right? So we could see...
In my head, the Dynamatic is better than the Warpath is, but that could be incorrect.
I'm just wondering if he can set up any kind of a board of his own.
Then.
Because Warpath is
He keeps
decent
2
against
1/1s around.
Blastmaster Boom. That's true.
You got Shield Slam, you got Geppetto. I think that almost any direction Jarla takes where this board dies.
I like the hesitance. I think there was, you know, there was maybe a chance that he could find something better, but yeah, I agree. This is definitely.
Golden Innovation Warpath.
Axes flying.
I think I'd actually be more terrified if the axes were slowly floating around me than if they were just like actually just flying past me.
Well, then that's like some... You're in ghost territory.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm horrified at the idea that objects are slowly floating when they should not be slowly floating.
Well, then definitely do not look at the screen right now because Orange just drew a handful of ghost axes.
Ah!
Thankfully, however, due to my tremendous speed, I could easily outrun those ghost axes. They're never catching me.
Me on the scooter.
You're donezo, man.
Yeah, just not fast enough.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Speaking of scooters and the fact that there is Dr. Boom Mad Genius in play, what is it that you say whenever you are about to ride off on your scooter? That's admirable.
I'm scooting up!
A classic joke.
I've been saying it for years.
Only recently did it start making any kind of sense at all. And here we go. The shuffle last turn, the Blastmaster Boom this turn.
He's thinking about it.
Does he want to do it on a clear board?
Okay, then.
Doesn't really get much better than this, right?
It's directly into the Kaboom, but honestly, I'm just not worried about that.
Yeah, the Kaboom is the scary bit, I suppose. Just in time as well with the bombs coming in now.
Ooh.
In force. So now with Barista Lynchon being drawn, Geppetto Joybuzz, if it were to give Jarla an extra tick of fatigue, would have to draw exactly Archivista Lysiana in order for him to have multiple shuffle effects.
To be guaranteed that.
Okay, then.
Yes, because otherwise it would have to stick around for a turn, which is not unheard of, but unlikely.
You're usually winning if the 7/7 just sticks around.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good example of a win-more situation. Or is it? Maybe it's not actually.
I think it is.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
I mean, your 7/7 stuck around. Come on.
It's pretty good.
This would be a good time for a master plan. Oh, I love that fuse thing. Light the fuses!
as the Blast Master Boom and all the annoying little Boom bots as well, but he is going to have to tank the full brunt.
Only 9 damage.
Yeah, a little bit more underwhelming there for Orange.
And you see the shake of the head from Orange too. Like, yeah, that's not supposed to happen.
Well, I mean, after his first game, I think he can be reasonably happy. He's kind of balanced out now.
All right, I'm thinking of something crazy for Orange.
Are you thinking Mechathune is anything other than a 10-10 with Rush?
I said I'm thinking. Not recommending.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at the Mechathune because obviously that's an interesting way to look at an alternate win condition.
I have attempted this multiple times, and only once has it been successful. I'd say about 1 out of, I don't know, maybe 12 attempts now.
All right, here's what happens. He discovers a llama
This
bot.
would be a good time for
Pulls
a
the
master
Elysiana
plan.
from his hand so he doesn't have to play it.
I was just going to play the Elysiana now. Burn 5 cards from your deck. And get you closer to activating the Mechathune.
I guess.
That's the attempt. I've gone for that attempt multiple times. It very rarely works. In fact, it super rarely works.
Okay, then.
And I don't think it would work here at all. I don't think he has enough life total. But boy, when I get a chance to do it, sometimes I just want spectacular things.
I think what Orange would rather have than a spectacular game is a win. And I think playing Elysiana here to try and go for a Mechathune win is unlikely to deliver that, to say the least. But he has found himself ahead on board here, which is a decent way to try and start pulling his way back into the game, as Archivist Elysiana is now drawn for Jarla, which means
even footing.
Even footing in terms of fatigue. I mean, arguably, Jarla's behind. He's drawn more cards. I think it's unlikely to go that late in the game. I think one player will have won by then.
The thing I'm looking at is I'm seeing 2 Beryllium Nullifiers in Orange's hand. And that is quite powerful when you have,
That's true.
the role of Mech Hunter this game. You're just playing little 0-2 bombs and getting a wide board presence. Like every single turn that Orange has Beryllium Nullifiers in hand and a Mech out, that's a threat to Jarla. And Jarla currently can think about that and account for it, but he doesn't know that. So whether or not he decides to or decides not to play around a circumstance like that, it's just a call he has to make.
However, in terms of the board damage pressure, Orange definitely appears to be ahead at the moment. But in terms of the auxiliary way of getting damage through to face, Augmented Elec double Clockwork Goblin seems like a pretty good way of getting some damage through to face.
By the way, you could get the Barista down that same turn as well.
That's also correct. Wow.
So Jarla's plan is to balance the defense and then to launch that counter assault the moment he feels security in his position.
Dude, what a turn.
Dinomatic is also a turn here.
And that deals 5 guaranteed damage to Mr. Geppetto.
Yeah, and we're seeing the benefit of having that brawl for Jarla. I mean, I think it's actually pretty rare you get a circumstance where you're happy to brawl in this matchup. Like, oftentimes I have found myself, on ladder anyway, brawling to just free up hand space.
I mean, it was much more a thing during the Dead Man's Hand warrior days, but I agree. It's something you have to consider. I mean, this if you can brawl here and a Goblin Bomb survives, you're pretty happy as Jarla, I think. You'd rather have the Warpath, of course, but he found a good opportunity for that earlier already.
With 10 cards in hand. Brawl, Clockwork Goblin, and then use the hero power. Pretty darn clean. The cleanness comes when, or the lack of thereof, comes when Orange's 3-4 lives.
Yeah.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
I'm just wondering if he ever goes for the Clockwork Goblin Barista Lynchon turn this turn, because it does get him 2 rush minions, right? Which can clear up some stuff.
Defend the gates!
I think I like this. I think I like slowing down a little bit with the brawl. Hecklebot has its merits. The other 2 are really good, though.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
So I'm thinking about Jarla's perspective on the Hecklebot and what it means for the potential minions it could pull from Orange's deck. I think the Boom Reaver is pretty close to the Hecklebot.
Do you think the Beryllium Nullify was the worst?
In this position, yeah, because Jarla's just losing.
I was kind of thinking that the Beryllium Nullify might be the best one. If he can stick it and magnetize
Oh, it's true. He does have the 1-cost clockwork.
Nuts.
The 1-cost clockwork's 1/1. You're gonna save that though.
Yeah.
I don't know. Man, that's a weird spot.
I guess the Broom Reaver is a lot of removal. Liking the look of that goblin.
Yeah. I mean, we put those in the deck anyway.
Yep. Mechathune, just a 10-10 rush, as we've said. Super unlikely to get that win.
He's already got that one. I mean,
well, if 1 wins you the game, 2 wins you 2 games. It's literally just maths.
So if it was game 2, and Orange was down game.
Yes.
This would be a... Oh, I love that fuse thing.
What Orange is looking at with his Goblin Bomb, because if he's looking at a Beryllium Nullifier turn, he wants to have less small minions in play, I think.
I honestly think he's just really not that concerned about Brawl. He's like, if you're gonna Brawl, I still end up with a board sometimes. By the way, you take some damage. By the way, I need you to spend mana not developing. Because Orange is at 12. That's really the story here. Is I think Orange, he has to continue this plan until he stabilizes.
But what he could have done is he could have traded in the Explodinator itself, magnetized onto one of the already existing Goblin Bombs with his Beryllium Nullifier, attack face for 3, so he doesn't miss any damage to face. He has a smaller board, so it's much harder to be dealt with.
Well, he doesn't miss any damage to face this way either.
Well, they both get the same amount of damage to face, is what I'm saying, so it's not a downside, but it's less weak to Brawl. I suppose it's more weak to a Mega Devastator, is his thinking of having less minions on board.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
I'm not sure on that one.
It's also 1 health outside of the range of Boom Reaver.
That's a good point.
It's pretty annoying.
Yep.
You know, honestly, I think one of the weirdest, biggest things that's happened in this game is Jarla expending the shield block and now having a shield slam in hand.
It's being pretty useless.
It's just been like a big nuisance that entire time. Oh boy.
Just not know
yeah, you definitely want to kill that one.
Yeah. I agree. Like, it's way too scary if you leave it alive. If he magnetizes anything onto that, you're kind of just losing.
Orange with shield slam on the blast shield turn. This is really good because he can run back the nullifier play.
So you think he spends the 7 mana on the nullifier and then shield slams the...
That's the obvious play to me anyway.
That's the obvious play to me too. I agree.
I'm just curious how that changes when you're staring down Discover a Mech. I could see being very interested in bomb pressure here too.
That's another interesting point, right? Because we know that, obviously Orange knows that Jarla has 1 Archivist Elysiana in the deck, so if he starts shuffling too aggressively, Jarla can very happily just replace his deck.
Yeah, so the goal I think is to get Jarla to an unsafe life total, while at the same time he needs to replace the deck, right?
Interesting. Is this the opportune moment, or the opportune set turn to start shuffling bombs?
I think this really is.
Right, because I guess if Jarla replaces the deck here, he starts to lose on fatigue, but if he doesn't replace the deck, he starts to take a lot of damage.
And if he does replace the deck, he's staring at 8 damage across the board, so he's going to take a lot of damage.
Also true.
And now the second shield slam, and Jarla really needs to find Blast Shield, and pretty soon. He's probably going to have to expend a Zilliax in this spot.
With what?
I mean, I guess not. He's at a break point where he's kind of saying, I don't know. God, this is hard.
This is just the power of Orange. Kind of. I mean, look at this Explodinator. It's stuck around and hit face for like 3 turns now. He's just playing stuff and it's just getting there. Surely Jarla can do something more proactive here, right? Like, just nothing's happening.
I think you just forego the mech.
Again?
I don't know. I genuinely...
Neither does Jarla.
Yeah. Splits again.
I think this is smart. You don't want to be too weak to a Mega Devastator. It's getting to that point in the game again where both players are getting low. There's lots of bombs in both decks. Jarla has the potential to go crazy with bombs on the following turn. We could see Elec, Clockwork Goblin, Lynchen, another Clockwork Goblin.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
These turns are hard.
They really
I don't know
are.
what to do.
Right, so I guess for our sake, what are both players most afraid of, and what are both players trying to do at the moment?
It feels to me like they're both pretty terrified of losing tempo.
Then.
Yes.
And so both of them have been splitting resources, creating, multiple problems on the board for opponent to solve, and trying to find a payoff for it. The payoff for Jarla is as soon as it stabilizes, he gets a bomb turn. The payoff for Orange is as soon as it stabilizes, it means he's just beating up Jarla.
So would Jarla rather go for his bomb turn as soon as possible, or after the Elysiana has come down? Or wait until Orange has basically run out of cards and hope to chain a bunch of them in a row?
I don't know. He really just wants to get a blast shield so he can make use of the tempo for the shield slams, and that's just not happening.
Also true.
So this turn, he gets Augmented Elec, Clockwork Goblin, and he has the laser locked up for this. He's just drawn Omega Assembly, so now he has incentive to empty the hand. So you can probably forego the Barista Lynchen turn, which means that you spend 4 mana on Wrench Caliber, you spend 2 more on the minions, you spend 2 more on the laser, you clear off the 5/5, you shuffle in bombs. I mean, I'm certain that he's going to cook up something here. But at this point, if I'm against Orange, I want to put him to the test immediately on bomb pressure in his own deck. He's only at 14. The minute that Orange goes for a play that doesn't account for bombs, Jarla is home free to then smash as much stuff on board as he wants and prevent the Archivist Elysiana from being a safe play.
Right, so that is, I think, Jarla's biggest combo, or 2-turn plan, I guess, that he wants to go for at the moment, which is shuffle a bunch of bombs into the deck and make sure he can pressure on the couple of turns after to deny Elysiana, which is what he's working towards here.
The issue is if he's going to clear out this 5/5, he's got to tank some damage.
Unless he gets the Vicious Scrap Hound.
And so in this instance, he has to forego one of the Elec shuffles, and you can see him shaking his head. Oh, the Scrap Hound, he got a Ziliax off this too. He should have tanked the damage in his head, I imagine, because he has the Ziliax Scrap Hound combo.
Which would have enabled his shield slam as well. Yeah.
Which is also just an extremely powerful combo.
I think you're right. But, so the upside, however, is even though he didn't get the multiple shuffles with the Elec, with his Clockwork Goblins, he can Barista Lynch them back to his hand, which essentially gets him a double activation anyway.
Right.
Which is massive.
And he's also got a Blast Shield, so now...
Which is good as well, yeah.
Orange has back against the wall, but he has Beryllium Nullifier.
And so I wonder if Jarla will very possibly, on the next turn or two, just play Archivist Elysiana. Maybe he does the bomb stuff first, because just the fact that it's a 7/7 makes it much more difficult for Orange to go for his own Archivist Elysiana.
Jarla, I think, will do it the moment he secures board.
I think you're right.
I think Jarla actually is the player that we've seen most often play Archivist Elysiana in situations where
there's cards
it's not necessarily obvious. And Orange going to play Elysiana here to override bombs.
Well, he's overriding the bombs, and he's getting it down before Jarla can pressure him. He learned from last game. But he's got to choose really quick here if he wants to get the good options. Slam? Questing? I'm wrong on every single one, apparently.
I don't know if there is a right answer.
I mean, he's going for the damage cards, right? And, I guess actually, oh! Portal Keeper's pretty good.
And Jarla shoot 2 more
when
bombs.
You have such a small deck.
And so now, if Orange can keep Jarla on a back... I actually don't know about this play from Orange because we have an Elec and a Red Caliber
so
unchecked.
Many bombs! What?
So step 1, blast shield, shield slam.
Yes.
Okay, step 2, do some stuff.
Orange just has 6 bombs in his deck now.
Yeah, I don't know if this play from Orange was wise. I was really looking at Beryllium Nullifier to be a way to stick it to Jarla. It's very clear he's been holding shield slams. He hasn't used either one, and he finally got a blast shield to make that awkward.
And this plan from Jarla to put bombs in the deck to force Orange to go for Archivist Elysiana is working out beautifully. Orange could just die.
And
yes, I agree.
And now we were just talking about it. As soon as Jarla secures board, that's when he's going to turn. Orange last turn did not secure board. I genuinely think he was supposed to be on Beryllium Nullifier. Your opponent cannot shield slam it, which is clearly what they've been holding the entire game.
It just comes down so strictly to the game theory of whether you want to go for the Elysiana after they've already put all their bombs in, or whether you want to do it proactively to try and get rid of the bombs that are already in your deck. It's so complicated, but he's been punished for it massively.
Oh boy.
The Elec lives again. We could see...
Oh my.
Oh my god. So how do you sequence this with Barista Lynching as well?
I'm looking at 10-mana expenditure with Clockwork Goblin, Barista Lynching, another Clockwork Goblin, Shield Slam.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
However, that doesn't use your hero power. And since you just drew another Elec, maybe you don't need to utilize this Elec. Maybe you partially utilize it.
I don't know. Elecs are cool. Let's do the Elec stuff. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that is bad. Maybe do you want to play Ziliax on this
I don't
turn?
think that Jarla has a bad play anymore.
Everything looks pretty good, to be honest.
He's pulled ahead. He has initiative
drastically ahead.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Yeah.
And life gives you Alex.
Yeah, okay. I like the Ziliax on this turn. I think this is just starting to develop his own game plan and lock out anything that Orange can do.
Gives you extra health.
Yeah.
Preserves the shield slam. You forego the mech, but look at this hand. Do you really need it? And I don't remember the name of that card, but Jungle Moonkin or whatever it's called is just, that is not getting the job done.
I think it's the Darkshire Moonkin.
It's a 2/8.
Thanks, production.
Yeah, it's a
10 out of 10 for effort.
That is the weirdest. You know, that's the weirdest card in the game.
Is it?
Why is it?
I think it's quite cool.
You think 7-mana 2/8s are cool?
Well, I mean, it's not particularly... I never said it was good. It's interesting, though, right? You can put it in a heavy spell damage-based deck. The weirdest
all right, now I'm aggravated.
The weirdest card in the game is Regenerating Thug. Why is that Thug regenerating? It makes no sense.
It's a troll. Trolls have regeneration.
Why is it the only one that regenerates? Thug. Makes no sense.
That's it. I'm out of cards.
And there it is. Jarla now down to no cards left in deck, can just refill everything with Barista Lynching. Oh, sorry, with the Archivist Elysiana. Whether or not he wants to this turn is the question. Maybe he just takes a tick of fatigue.
I mean, he knows that Orange doesn't have any bomb cards left, unless they were discovered from Archivist Elysiana.
He knows that with
certainty.
Well, no, because he doesn't know what cards Orange drew before he played the Archivist Elysiana. These could be remaining bomb cards in his hand, right? And the Mechathune could be It's very unlikely because Orange very, very likely would have played them by now. But he can't say with 100% certainty that Orange does not have bomb cards.
Okay, then.
He can make a very strong read.
I'm trying to think of all the ones that were played this turn, or this game.
It wasn't many. Jarla's just not drawn that many bombs over the course of the game. Or if he did, he got them all close to the start.
Oh boy, I am kind of confused about it. Initially, I thought this was really easy, and the more I think about it, the more I don't know if you should Barista, Lynchen, or 7 armor here.
That's a lot. Just close out any possibility for Orange having discovered Wrench Caliber or whatever else.
You want the armor for the shield slam so that you can play Archivist Elysiana next turn. There we go.
And here, what's Orange's hope of survival? Mechathune and rush in? I think is the only way he survives until the next turn.
Okay, then.
Yeah, he just lost board.
We can see then it would be 1 damage off lethal for Jarla with the Beryllium Nullifier hero power.
Which I don't think he goes that route. I think he stays safe with the Elysiana.
That seems very reasonable to me. Well, actually, unless he... Oh no, he can clear off the shield slam.
He's taking 1 damage from fatigue, which means that he'll have 6 armor, which means he can shield slam Elysiana. This was perfectly done.
Planned from turn 1.
He knew that this 6 armor was the play.
Armani Warbear, brilliant.
214 taunt.
Yeah.
Thing.
Battle Rage? Is that ever the pick? Because you want to draw your good cards?
Just take the Frothing.
Okay, fair enough. I'm fine with the frothing.
Well, I was getting into the Rastakon's Rumble Spirit, Frothing Berserker.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Berserker.
Ooh.
Oh, your charge minions have +1 attack. That's great. Oh, Dr. Oh, it gives them all rush. All your rush minions have +1 attack. Maybe that should be the...
It would be better. Orange now a bomb draw away from losing the game.
Dunzo. Jarla. Honestly, just a fantastic set from Jarla, where he was able to capitalize on Orange having the board slip away for just basically 1 single turn. That's where Jarla was able to turn that whole thing on its head and keep the momentum on his side from that point forward. And it took a long time to arrive there, but you could see at every single step of the way, Jarla was going kind of piece for piece, and then the moment he realized he could take board, that's when he started to just use all his resources. Doesn't even need the Barista.
I know it's unfortunate given that it's literally my job to talk about Hearthstone, but I struggle to put into words what went so wrong for Orange in that game, because it's obviously easy to pinpoint it on playing the Elysiana and then having 6 bombs shuffled into his deck. Like, that's an easy way to say that's where everything went wrong. But there's other stuff that led to that point where he was behind on board. He had less bomb cards he was able to shuffle in. You know, Jarla even had the Dr. Boom a fair bit later than Orange had in that game, but it still just slipped away from him.
Well, Jarla's ready for an interview. Jarla, can you hear us?
Hey guys, I can.
Congratulations on your win. What a set that had to happen here. Talk to me about this game in particular, because there's a lot of moments in here I think that can be taken, for granted. Like, for instance, Orange playing the Archivist Elysiana, and then you shuffling the bombs afterwards. I want to get your thoughts on that play in particular. Just when is the right time to play Elysiana, and kind of why?
It kind of depends how many bombs is in a player's deck, right? So, like, if there's, like, I don't know, 3 or more bombs, then maybe it's worth to play Elysiana when you are ahead and just destroy rest of your deck, but you destroy the bombs as well, so you avoid dying. So it kind of depends. It's really situational, and it's not the same every game.
And now I'm going to take that and take a step back to the early stages of the game. There's a lot of debate that I've seen about being aggressive with the deck and playing it very tempo-oriented and playing it in a more control style. What are some things that give you a clue as to which one of those you should be playing?
So basically, in first game, my primary deck is without Elysiana, so I should be aggressor in that match, right? And try to kill Orange. What ended up happening was that actually Orange was killing me, and I was supposed to like keep 10 cards in hand, so I avoid dying. So yeah, I was really unfavored in the first game. And then second and third game, it was like close to 50-50. And then it kind of depends again, like if who has Dr. Boom first or who has like the bomb scarred first, and yeah.
Well, I mean, don't just put it down to that. We thought your play was pretty spot on for the vast majority of the games. We liked a lot of what we saw. But speaking of oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I've played well, but I should definitely rewatch the games and see if there was something else.
Well, we definitely want to as well. It's pretty complicated stuff.
Yeah.
But with respect to your primary deck in particular, you've got the Geppetto Joybuzz in there without Barista Lynchen or Archivista Lysiana. Is that just the correct build of Bomb Warrior at the moment? Should all of them have Geppetto Joybuzz in there?
Actually, I'm not sure about the Geppetto Joybuzz. That was like a card I put in my deck like I don't know, 1 hour before submission.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm still not sure about that. I think it's better to play like double Acolyte and yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much going to clear some things up for us. Are you heading to the Masters Tour coming up in Las Vegas?
Yeah, of course I am. I will try to win that one.
How are you feeling about your preparation for that? Do you think it's going to be like a really tough time? Like, how are you feeling given that there's a patch coming out about a week before that?
Right now, I don't feel like confident enough in this meta, so I'm definitely gonna put in a lot of time and try to prepare and play my best in Vegas.
Well, all right. I'm surprised to hear you're not that confident. I thought you've been playing pretty lights out in most of your series, Jarla. I have to say, I think that you're one of the players I'm most impressed with having seen so far. So congratulations on your win today, and I look forward to seeing you play in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
So humble.
I'm going to have to go back and watch it. You know, I just played the whole thing, and it took a long time, so let me go back and watch it and make sure. That to me, is the sign of, like, how the control player mind works. They're like, oh, something had to be different. I need to go back and make sure that I find this again, because when this similar situation comes up, I want to be ready for it.
It's a good distinction you make with control warrior play, because I think with the aggro decks, players can still be very self-critical, but it's more obvious where the mistakes were made. It's not necessarily easier or difficult, but you can pretty easily pinpoint where something went wrong and where you could improve. But in a game like that, where, for example, Orange in game 2, 1 damage off lethal, let me remind you, from winning the game on the spot. He had just a 1 in 8 at the end to take the entire game with a random bomb draw. But overall, there had to be something he could have improved in that game. There just had to be. It was too long for there not to have been better decisions.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, that's our grueling match of the week 2. Our match of the day is done, where Orange seems to continue this streak where he is 100% win rate versus former and current world champions and 0% win rate when he is not facing current or former world champions in terms of matches.
Yeah, down to 2 and 3, which is obviously not where you'd like to be after your 5th match here in Grandmasters. But it's kind of where a lot of the pack is, and if he wins his 2nd match tomorrow for week 3 of Grandmasters, he's still very much in a good spot to advance through to the finals.
Indeed, and we got a lot of players in this division who are competing today. Casey, opportunity to move up. Swids, an opportunity to start turning it around, and that's actually our next matchup is Casey versus Swids. That's going to be coming up, which means that we're done with our match of the day. 2 more here to go, and these next 2 are fire. So stick around for these. Casey versus Swids right after this.